really good actor.
Yes, he is.
And he's very good at what he does. And so I'm like, seeing him like be like
A transphobe sucks.
Yeah, no, it sucks because he's like one of those people where you're like, oh, you're really good at pretty much everything you do, and it sucks that you're shit.
Yeah,
transphobes are shit.
Yeah,
sucks to suck.
Oh, apparently he was in the Doolittle movie, so he's already been like, he's already gotten punished. What he deserves. He's punished.
Doesn't Robert Downey Jr. shove his arm up like a dragon's ass in that movie or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Sounds like the kind of movie we should be talking about on this podcast.
We were still talking about the Lego Batman movie for a second, and I was like, and then I reset and was like, okay, we're not talking about Lego Batman anymore. I like the film The Grand Budapest Hotel a lot, despite some of its problematic elements.
Oh, like he's in one of the best. He's in one of my favorite movie scenes of the past decade in Hail Caesar.
Yes. That's also a movie that I like a lot.
Yeah, and the scene of him doing dialect coaching with Alden Ehrenreich is like flawless.
Yes. Anyway.
So, anyways,
Ralph Fiennes, learn not to be a transphobe.
Yeah.
Challenge.
Yeah, the Ralph Fiennes stop being a transphobe challenge.
Can we start that as like a challenge for celebrities? Like, don't be a transphobe challenge, and then it goes suddenly viral, and people aren't transphobes anymore, and we solve transphobia as a bunch of cis people.
I am laying down the gauntlet for my all celebrities don't be transphobes challenge.
It's just like the ice bucket challenge. You have to go on TikTok, not be transphobic, and then challenge someone else to not be transphobic on TikTok.
Well, yeah. Yes.
Exactly. It's like it goes viral and it's like you have to participate in it, otherwise you look bad. So it's like, oh, if you don't participate, you are a transphobe maybe. And so you're like, and so all these transphobic celebrities are like, maybe I should stop being transphobic because it's a bad look.
It's like they need to read the air 3.
What?
This is a Japanese joke because one of Allison's game, Hukiyomi,
Yeah.
the Japanese is like it's for
read the atmosphere. Like it's like can you read the atmosphere? But it's translated into English as consider it because it's like a pun. Anyways, Kukiyomi 3 is out, and this game continues to be fucking weird and great. Basically, if you've liked the other Kukiyomi games, this is probably up there as one of the best ones because there are multiple things that straight up made me laugh out loud with Kukiyomi 3. Which I mean, there's other ones where it's pretty funny in the first 2, but this I straight up just was laughing because there were a couple of gags that they threw in there that I thought were just really good, and a couple of really meta gags too, where you have to there's one where it's hey, referencing that this is the third one and that this is an established series at this point. So, for example. Okay, so if you haven't heard the earlier episodes where I've talked about the Kukiyomi series, this is basically like WarioWare, but social situations. And you don't really get a lot of feedback, so you're just sitting there going wait a minute, did I do the wrong thing? Did I do the wrong thing? So one of the situations that came up was somebody asks you for tea, and you go, okay. And so you fill up a teacup, but you have to decide how much you fill up and make sure that you fill it up with the tea. Later on, there's somebody who's can you give me some tea, please? And you're like, okay. And of all the different things that you can dispense liquid from, none of them are tea. And you have to think, would it be better if I gave them milk? Would it be better if I gave them water? Would it be better if I gave them nothing at all? What do I do? And then it ends, and it's next situation, and you're like, what the fuck? Tell me what I should have done. So it's it kind of has that feeling of living in social situations where you're don't know what I'm doing right now. and it's not going to make you feel better about them. It's just going to go from one social situation to another. But then some of them will be completely absurd and nonsensical as well. And it just continues to be really great. It's like $5 on Switch. I think previously they've been free on mobile. So it's just like weird WarioWare that is about social situations, and this one made me laugh. So
they list the genres in the eShop as other, practical, communication, and party.
Yeah. I don't fucking know.
You can play with up to 2 players. Sounds like a party to me.
Yeah, and I actually would really like to play it with another person at some point, because
then that means you could be in the same room with another person.
Yes. Ultimately yes. But then also, like, consider it together. Like, they have separate situations where it's like one person's doing this, one person's doing that, and it kind of tests your like how considerate you are to each other and how kind of cooperative you are and things. Whereas at the end of this, it shows you like at the end of your 100 questions of considerate, it like shows you like, here's how considerate you are. And then at the end of the credits, they'll be like, maybe it's best not to be so considerate. And you're just like, what the fuck are you trying to tell me, game? So yeah, so it would be really nice to be, it would be nice to play it like if like online multiplayer, if that was possible, but also like, I think this is a pretty small Japanese team, so I get it that they don't necessarily have that, but it's it's a weird game. And there's a couple of times where like the game can get very Japanese to the point where I got to one situation where I was like, is this like a Japanese social thing that I don't know about? And then it ended, I was like, that is definitely a Japanese social thing I do not know about. So it's just, and it's very specifically tells you like, some of this isn't Japanese. Enjoy Japanese culture. Okay, bye. So because it just like kind of directly translates everything. So which is kind of fun. But
what was the situation you're referring to?
I don't remember, honestly. There's just one where I was like, it's very specifically, I don't know. It felt like it was like this feels like a Japanese social situation that I just don't know how to deal with. But I really can't remember what it is. It might have been, maybe.
There's a whole in Yakuza. There's a whole like side quest where you have to like you're quizzed on like the proper business card etiquette for Japan, which is you have to.
Don't spoil it.
Okay, I'm
just kidding. I'm kidding.
I'm helping you now.
Don't spoil real life.
I think I already know this.
Cultural lesson time. You gotta both hands on the card. Here, I got
on
like
the corners.
You gotta like hold it like this with like just like fingers on the corners, hand it to them, and then you have to receive it the same way. Then you're supposed to like admire it for like, not too long, give it a second look. Ooh, this is a nice business card. And then you put it away discreetly somewhere, or you leave it on the table and discreetly put it away somewhere safe, as to not disrespect the business card.
Yeah, because you're handing someone your name. Yeah. Everyone's just nodding, by the way.
Yeah.
No, I have respect for it. I don't. Yeah.
Business cards, man, it's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a couple of times where you're like, I don't know. There's just a couple of times where I was like, don't know if this is necessarily connecting with me, but in a fun way. And then it also just like I said, like sometimes gets really weird where it will just be about like not social situations that you'll be into, but like you have to put a robot head on the robot instead of on another thing, and you're like, okay,
sure, why not?
Sure, why? Yeah, exactly. Why not? Okay, this is like you're playing an RPG thing, and you're like, all right, sounds good, I guess. It's very, I don't know. It's very, very weird, and I feel like if social situations WarioWare appeals to, then you'll like it. If it doesn't, you won't. That's pretty much, how I feel about Kukiyami, where
Yeah, all three of them.
yeah, exactly. Where it's like if that's like, it's basically what that says on the tin. Yeah. So anyways, I still like the series a lot, and it was very fun to see a third one pop up.
Nice.
I think the first one is on iOS, which kind of sucks from what I can see.
I had to go to the Japanese Play Store to get Kukiyami 2. So
I like having a controller with it. So if you have
Fair.
a phone controller, then that's good. But also if you don't, then I feel like it makes a little
I
bit
don't
more
know if it
sense on
supports
Switch.
controllers because it looks like it's played in portrait mode on phones.
It's also on Switch, so I imagine it works with controllers.
You'd be surprised, as someone with a phone controller, the number of games that are on multiple platforms that don't have controller support on phones.
yeah, and that game, it's a few years old, isn't it? Like 2 years old, 3 years old. Like I feel like controller stuff is getting more and more new, but
Yeah, and it looks like it's designed specifically for mobile, the mobile version with touch controls as the thing. It's a kind of a different game control wise. Anyway, I could also just play it on Switch since I'm actually using my Switch right now. So
Yeah, and like I said, it's like $5, and
Yeah.
it's a decent amount of fun. So I feel like it's one of those things where, yeah, you can get the first one free on mobile, but at the same time, I don't feel like, oh, I wasted so much
Yeah.
money.
I think it
on
has
this.
ads because there's a pro version for $1, so I would just buy the dollar version anyway.
Yeah. Anywho, yeah. Like you said, the genre is other practical communication and party. So, what more do you need to know?
I need to know how Noja ended. Was it
tell
good?
us how it. Yeah, I just want to know it's
anything
good.
for you.
I need to know like the feeling it elicited.
I literally cried my eyes out,
There you go.
and
So as
Because
good as
there's-
Yakuza 6.
Yeah, I was gonna say so. Like Yakuza 6,
I
the last game to
I
make
was
me cry openly.
sobbing, and it just makes you feel all the emotions, and I did not expect to feel that way, but I did. And then you get to the true ending, which you get to in a pretty interesting way, and you're just like right straight through the heart. Anyways,
And you're to
Noja,
blame.
it's really good.
You give visual novels a bad name.
I feel like this game is one that the less you know about it going in, the better. The things I've heard about it make me feel like I don't want to hear that much else about it.
But it's really fun to discover things. And
Yeah, yeah.
is one of the things I like about it, and kind of making those discoveries and doing that is really good. Yeah, so I just completely fell in love with it, to the point where don't want to start talking about game of the year because we just did that. But if this is not my number one game, then something real good is coming out this year, because this is I loved this so much. So if you didn't hear the episode where I already talked about this and gushed about it, it's basically visual novel anime Among Us, where it's like you're playing like a social deduction game, but it's and you're doing loops of these various social deduction games to get an overarching story. So I think I ended up doing somewhere around 160 loops to get to the ending. Some of them went really, really fast. And since the dialogue kind of repeats in some of the sections that are generated procedurally, basically I was like, okay, I know what they're saying here, time to get to the decision making. So some of them didn't take very long to get through, but I think that it's just really fantastic. So I don't know how much more I can say other than just kind of gushing about it and being like, please play it, because it's just such a unique game too. And with a story that considering that you're going through these loops and they And most people don't remember you through the loops. It's just like, I did not expect to be as like enthralled with all the characters and wanting to learn more about them and about this world. And yet it was just really fun to learn more about. So I interested to see if I don't know if this developer has made any other games, but I hope they do, because it was really great. And it's something where I hope that they I'm really glad it ended up coming over, because
Yeah.
it was like a later title for the Vita, which we're going to talk about later. The Vita doesn't have much time left, but yeah. So also this, as I found out and told Alex, this game has like literally 4 developers who worked on it. So I think that's pretty cool.
It's really cool, and it was pretty successful, like for a 4-person developed game, I think. So I'm sure that
for a 4-person developed game that was released on the Vita, like I think, was it 2019?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So it was like released on the Vita 2019, 4-person team indie visual novel, and it did it had like a real cult following to it. So
All right.
yeah, so no, it's really good. Everybody play it. I'll be talking about it more. If anybody wants to do spoiler cast, I'm in. I just need other people to play.
I do want to play it at some point. I don't know when I'll get to it though.
No, that's totally fair. There are too many video games.
Yeah.
And I say this as as I mentioned in our group chat, there are too many video games, but then I say this as I keep buying more video games.
Oh, I'm with you.
So I get that.
I'll check this out. I've got time right now.
Do you think you're going to check out any other social deduction, visual novel-y kind of things? Because there's a bunch of them at this point to kind of dive into.
Yeah, I'd love to check out more games like this. I know a lot of people are comparing it to Raging Loop, which I bought, and I'm interested to play that. So I'm going to check that out, and I'm going to see if I can find more games like this, because it's really fun, and I feel like the loops of like the gameplay loop of learning more about these characters, so then you can do better at future loops of deducting things, so that you can kind of gain more skills and gain more ways. Like it's very appealing to me. So I'd love to see more games kind of in this vein. So I'm going to definitely check out some more of these kinds of these types of things, and then also hope for more.
Yeah, it's a cool way to tell those kinds of stories, and some do it better than others. I think Raging Loop does it pretty well, though it is less gameplay-y than Notia is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Alex, you're back.
Hi.
What have you been up to in the last week?
It's been kind of a busy week. In terms of stuff that would be relevant to this podcast, I was a guest on another podcast, which was Bread Radio.
I'm going to need you to look at your contract. You have a no compete clause. I'm going to have to ask you to leave the podcast.
Oh shit. Okay. I'm going to close this call, and
You still can't be on any other podcasts though.
Yeah, no, there's a moratorium. There's a 6-month no compete.
Yeah. No. So we had August on the podcast a couple episodes ago, and kind of went over to their side of things to talk about stuff, and it was good. The August and Greg are a good pair of dudes. We talked about, usually they're pretty irreverent and silly, but we talked a lot of serious stuff that episode. It was interesting. It was cool. It was like a lot of kind of ethicsy kind of stuff, and what we think the future of the industry is going to be like kind of stuff, coming from a bunch of different angles.
Boston Samurai.
Boston Samurais did come up, yes. What it would be like if we cast Matt Damon and Ben Affleck in the Ghost of Tsushima movie. Yeah, no, it was a good show. So Bread Radio episode 31, I want to say. It was good. But other than that, I've been playing.
They should set the Demon Souls movie in Boston.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, they
I
should.
mean, what they should do, it should just be that a Boston cop gets pulled into Demon Souls.
Mark
That's the only
Wahlberg.
way they seem to be able to make any kind of fantasy video game movie is
Mark
normal
Wahlberg
person gets sucked in the video
as-
game world.
Mark Wahlberg as a
are all video
Boston
game
cop.
movies isekai?
Yeah,
Basically.
it sounds like it.
Yeah, I mean,
Except
based
Mortal
on
Kombat.
yeah, well, Mortal Kombat looks good. That's the
Man.
difference.
Man, now that you've said that they're all just isekai movies, you're not wrong.
And then all the
Dang.
ones that are terrible.
Yeah. But not terrible. Speaking of video games, I played one that came out yesterday, which is called Genesis Noir. I don't know if y'all have been
Yeah.
following it at all.
Yeah, this looks cool. I want to play this.
Yeah, so it is extremely stylish. Like I don't know how else to describe it other than extremely stylish. Like it's got a animation style and kind of just vibe that I don't know if I've seen in games before. Like it's just really smooth and like the animations are really whimsical in a weird way, and it's very I want to say somewhere between ambitious, like with how crazy it gets, and also kind of like how would you describe Kentucky Route Zero? Like the way that it animates and stuff. Like it's kind of it's not in a reality that you can recognize.
Yeah, it's very artistic, I guess. It's very like
Is it avant-garde?
Yeah,
to an
avant-garde
extent.
is not
Yeah,
bad. Yeah,
I would
it's
say
got a
that-
bit of
that-
that.
KRZ is probably that's what I
Yeah.
would.
Yeah, there's more words I could think of, but my brain's not on yet, so that's okay. But basically what's happening is it's a noir, and it's set in what they kind of describe as the birth of the universe, the Big Bang. And the story itself is really ambiguous. Like it's not really told with actual dialogue. It's mostly just people kind of
Vibing.
pantomiming stuff. Yeah, and jazz
Vibing.
music. Like it's all with this really great jazz soundtrack. So like there'll be like squealing saxophones going crazy when stuff is going bad, and then it's like really chill, kind of smooth jazzy stuff when stuff is kind of chill. It's really cool, and it's pretentious, but it's good. Like I know like pretentious is often used as like something to denigrate something, but this is pretentious in a good way because it's executing on it really well. And I think it's a really good game. I did have to stop playing it for a little while though, because I encountered like a game breaking bug that really sucked. And I was looking at their Steam community tab and like the discussion forums and stuff, and it sounds like other people have hit the same bug, and they have a patch coming out within the next day or two that's going to try and address a bunch of bug issues. So it's the kind of game where maybe wait for a week. It is on Game Pass. So if you have Game Pass and Game Pass PC included, then you can play it there with no additional cost. But the patch I encountered, the bug I encountered that they patched or will be patching, was basically this puzzle where you have to connect things to other things. And I finally figured out the logic and was like, okay, made it through like 3 or 4 of these and got to the last one and connected things. I was like, yep, this is the solution. All right, connect the last one. And then it's like, oh, no, it didn't solve. I was like, what? But it looks like it solved. And I was like, I did it like 3 separate times and always came to the same answer. I was like, that's weird. Why isn't it solving? So I went and looked online, like at someone's playthrough to see how they solved it. Like just to be like, am I doing something wrong? Did I understand this wrong? And they gave the exact same solution I did. And I was like, well, okay, I guess I got to just go back to the checkpoint and do it again. So I did the checkpoint, which threw me back like 20 minutes before, because the checkpoint starts at like the start of that chapter. And this was like relatively near the end. And getting back to where I was did not take 20 minutes. It took like 15, but like it sucks because like there's a bunch of basically cutscene kind of stuff that you can't skip. So like you cannot just move it forward faster. You have to sit through it. So that sucked. And that kind of killed my momentum, and that's why I stopped playing yesterday, because I was like, ugh, it's good, but that kind of sucked the wind out of the sails. But I'm looking forward to getting back.
Most games.
Yeah, like I'm looking forward to getting back to it. I just kind of needed to reset a little bit because it's really good. But It just has some little bits that need to be kind of ironed out, and once those are ironed out, it's a very easy recommendation for pretty much everyone here, I would say. Especially
Yeah,
you, Pat, I would say.
I actually bought it on Steam because I didn't realize it was coming to Game Pass, but I don't really regret it. It's like $12,
Same.
and
Yeah, I
happy
also got it on
to
Steam.
happy to throw that developer some cash for it, even though I have Game Pass, because it looks really cool. I am gonna give it a little bit of time to get so that they can iron that stuff out.
Yeah, it's
because I have
super
tons
unique.
to play anyway.
Yeah, very, very unique and just qualitatively really good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's Genesis Noir out now. What else? You're at the end of Final Fantasy.
I'm at the
No one's
end
at
of
the end of Final Fantasy yet.
It's
Final.
It's final. It's over.
Yep.
It's the end of the fantasy.
Wait until I tell you about this series.
Well,
Let me take a big sip of coffee and read about Final Fantasy.
well,
The one
actually,
game.
yeah, no, I'm almost near the first credits of Shadowbringers, because all of the story content in Final Fantasy 14, you get to like this first set of credits, which is kind of the base of whatever story you're doing, whatever expansion, and then there's a second set of credits after like they do a bunch of patches, and it's roughly equivalent amount of content. So if it takes 40 hours to get to the first credits, it's probably going to take about 40 hours to get to the second one. So it's almost like marking the halfway point of whatever storyline or expansion you're in.
Have they finished? Like, is there any more narrative content that will come out before Endwalker? Do you know?
Yes.
Okay,
patch
cool. I figured.
5.5 is coming out in April.
Cool.
So I'm pretty sure I'll be there by the time it comes out, which
Yeah.
is going to be perfect timing because I can actually join in the zeitgeist of that conversation. And when people talk about Shadowbringers having an exceptional story, they were not fucking kidding. It's really good. Like, it's easily one of the best game stories I've seen in a very long time. Like, were it not for Umineko, I could say, yeah, this is probably my favorite game story, but it's currently nestled in pretty solidly at number 2 because it's really, really smart. And the way they tie it back to some of the previous stuff that you've been through is like the kind of thing where you can tell they've had this stuff planned for like nearly a decade. So it has some like story twists or like plot points that are like a decade in the making, and you can tell like it was orchestrated from the start, and it's really smart.
Yeah.
So it's truly, it's exceptional. It's really good.
I think I'm gonna do it. I think I'm gonna try to push through this game this year before
Hell yeah.
Endwalker comes out, so I can play Endwalker with everybody else. It's a lot of game. It's a lot of game to get through by then.
I don't like playing MMOs, but you're trying. Like, I'm vaguely getting convinced now.
There's nothing to stop you from trying it. It's
You should try it.
basically a single-player game.
It's yeah, you don't have to play it as an MMO. You have to do dungeons at certain points, but one, I'm happy to come and help anytime you have to do dungeons, and two, like I did a dungeon, my first dungeon in my current playthrough the other night, and I was tanking, and like I forgot to put my tank stance on, and someone was like, hey tank, you should put your defiance on, just FYI. Like, people are super friendly. The community in this game is like the nicest MMO community I've ever seen.
Wild.
Yeah, I mean, it is. Well, I think it's because it's so narrative driven. Like, I think World of Warcraft is really cool. My partner plays it a lot, and is in like a pretty significant raiding guild and an officer in it on her server and stuff. But through osmosis, I've gathered a lot more about WoW, and they couldn't be more different games, because like WoW is so much about like getting to end game, and then like you just level boost at this point. You don't even play through any content. When she makes a character, she gets it boosted to the max level, and then it's just for raiding. Whereas with Final Fantasy, there are raids for sure, but it is such a narrative driven game, which I think leads to the people who want to play it being there for the same reasons that like you and I usually play video games, which is to experience like a really cool world and story rather than to compete. And I play games to compete too, but not usually these kinds of games. Versus the mentality of a lot of MMOs where it's very competitive. So I think that helps
I would just
with the community.
I would just want the story. So
and the way that
And you can totally do that.
the way that the instance content works, especially if you pick like a DPS class that doesn't have to do healing or tanking, you can just, it's all party finder. Like you don't have to talk to anyone if you don't want to. It's just like you hit like, okay, find me a group, and then it queues you for a group, and then you're in, and the other people that you're playing with, like you can kind of ignore talking to them if you don't want to. But yeah, you should definitely try it because it's really more of a JRPG than it is a World of Warcraft scenario. It's so much of it is like dialogue and stuff.
Yeah, and the gameplay does get really engaging, especially where I'm at right now. Like the dungeon and raid and like just boss design is really good. Like it has you constantly moving, and it's always introducing new mechanics and stuff like that. So it's really cool.
And it's stunning how well it plays on a controller. I ended up plugging my wireless keyboard in so I can chat with people, but even though I have it on PC, I'm primarily playing it on the couch because I can sit with the dog on the couch and play it with a controller, and it's really comfortable. The other thing that I wanted to say quickly about it, and then I'll shut up about it, but one of the reasons I think you would like it, Allison, is that it does a thing for me that an MMO hasn't really achieved since like City of Heroes. And I think it does it better than City of Heroes, which is, it's also just a place that I kind of want to hang out. Like what I get from it is this sort of thing that I think a lot of people get from Animal Crossing, where I just kind of like, sometimes I'm just like, I just want to listen to a podcast and like sit in the middle of town and like just craft some hammers or something and level up a crafting skill, because it's just the music and the visuals and like seeing people running around is really like just pleasant. I think especially in a time when we're still stuck at home, hopefully not for too much longer, but we'll see. It's nice to just like feel like you're kind of like hanging out in a space with other people without there being a bunch of like horrible bigotry in the zone chat all the time, like you get in a lot of MMOs. And so I don't know, I think it achieves that. I'm not even necessarily doing like dailies or anything at this point. Those exist, but
they do.
I'm just kind of like logging in to hang out sometimes. And that's very fun.
Yeah. And like you can purely go through the story just linearly, basically, with almost no blockers. Like there's going to be like one or two where it's like, oh, you have to kind of get your job class or whatever up to a certain level in order to progress past this point. Or like you might have to do the side quest series for a little while, and it'll say, okay, once you finish this amount of the side quest, you can continue the main quest. But yeah, like you can basically go through it linearly with no blockers and no grinding or anything, and it's good.
Yeah.
But like Pat, you were saying, if you want to just put on a podcast and do something else, like they have the different levels of quests. There's the main gold fiery logoed story quests. That's how you progress the story. But then there's like the blue ones, and you do one of the blue quests, and that's just like a side story that's, because it has the blue logo, it's going to unlock something, be that like a companion or a mount or a class, or sometimes just like entirely new systems. Like if you want the chocobo that follows you around and will join you in battles and heal you, you can do a little side quest and that'll unlock it for you. Like there's so much stuff you can do if you want some of that kind of less story driven content. So you just need a brain break and put on a podcast and do something else. So yeah, it's really good.
I went in this time going like, I'm just going to play the story. And then within 2 days was like, well, now I'm on a boat on a fishing voyage, which is not related to the story at all, but I'm catching fish.
Damn it, I want to play this game.
It's good.
Now.
It's free. Just do it.
You can play all the way up to level 60 in the critically acclaimed Heavensward in the free trial.
It's over 100 hours of gameplay.
I still love that they leaned so hard into that meme. Anyways, it's good.
You should do it. Everybody should do it. Play on Ultros. Tweet at us.
Three of the four of us are on the Final Fantasy train right now, so I think you've got to do it, Allison.
I think I do. Okay.
And Shadowbringers is real good.
To play it.
Hell yeah.
This weekend I'm going to do it. So next week, check back in to see where I've gone with Final Fantasy.
I think you can make characters on Ultros right now too, so you can get on the best server. Sorry, Alex. best NA server.
fine.
Let's put it that way.
It's fine. Carbuncle's still cool.
You can join the Giant Bomb Guild.
There is one?
They're a
Cool.
friendly group. Yeah, they're
Nice.
a friendly group. The
Why
Grand
do
Company
that?
or whatever.
Free
Yeah.
company, I think, is
Free
what
company.
Free company,
that's-
yeah.
I have one of my closest friends plays and has a free company, but I think there's only like 4 people in it that actually play the game currently. So I might look for a larger one because I want to try some raids if I'm playing this game anyway.
They've got a big house. Yeah, you can go to the house.
You can get a house. There's player housing. You get a little in room. Yeah. So you can make it Animal Crossing Final Fantasy, basically.
Yeah, but you can do gardening there. Like,
Yeah,
Oh,
you can. Yeah.
Well,
God damn it. You can garden, you can fish.
It has such unique like craft gathering and crafting mechanics too. It's so cool. Anyway.
Well, Pat, when you're not gathering or crafting in Final Fantasy, what are you doing these days? Are you gathering and crafting in other games as well?
Yeah. So I purchased Monster Hunter Rise. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. No.
Rise
Fujikawa
Kujikawa. Yeah.
I picked up Monster Hunter Rise. I had been like very on the fence about it. And I was telling myself I should just go back and play World, but then I was reading some of the reviews for Rise and they were very positive. So I decided to pick it up because even though I was wary of it being on Switch, because I'm notoriously like kind of a snob about performance stuff, which doesn't translate well to a lot of Switch games, but I did end up picking it up. I've played, I think like 2 or 3 hours last night. I played all of the level 1 quests, all the 1-star quests, and did the first like urgent quest where you have to fight a larger monster and unlock the 2 stars. And that game is really good. It is like, it actually runs really well on Switch. That's not been an issue at all in the full game. It stayed locked at 30 frames per second, which was my biggest concern. And it does so many things. It addresses like all of the issues that I had with Monster Hunter World. It is obviously not as like pretty a game as Monster Hunter World from a technical perspective, but it has an aesthetic to it that's like feudal Japan, like lots of really cool armor designs and building designs and stuff. And Monster Hunter World to me always felt kind of like, okay, this is very aesthetically pretty, but it doesn't feel like it has the kind of character that past Monster Hunter games have had to me. And I think Rise is like full tilt the other way, where it's just full of character. The music is incredibly good. Like Final Fantasy 14 also has incredible music. So it's just been like these 2 games this week have been like, there's always really amazing orchestral music coming from the soundbar whenever I'm playing games. Lots of the music in Monster Hunter Rise also has lyrics, which is kind of cool. They're like, there's like vocals.
Are they in Monster Hunter language?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you, because Monster Hunter language sounds fairly similar to Japanese to someone who doesn't speak Japanese. It's clearly distinct. Obviously, I'm not saying it sounds the same, but I'm playing with the Monster Hunter language for the dialogue because it's fun. But it definitely sounds closer to like the accents and stuff are more like Japanese, and it sounds closer to that than to English. And the thing that differentiates it is there's not a lot of long words in Monster Hunter language. A lot of the words are shorter. That's where you can clearly tell the difference between it and Japanese, even though some of the sounds are similar. So with the music, I can't tell because it's singing. So it's drawn out words anyway. So it's hard to tell if it's Japanese or Monster Hunter language. Either way, it's very good. Cool. Really, really pretty vocals. And then they kind of just like trim out a lot of the stuff in World that is very cool for the first 4 or 5 hours. And then I don't know about anybody else, but I got very tired of like, I got to run all over this town kind of stuff. And it in Rise, like everything you do is in like you can see everything on the screen at once that you do in the village. The village is very small and you can very easily bounce around. It could almost be like a menu. and
That's
it works.
how at least 4 Ultimate was.
And it's clearly taking inspiration from that track, the sort of handheld track of Monster Hunter games. And then, you know, a lot of the weapons are similar. I'm not enough. I know the hunting horn got a huge upgrade. I guess it's like very different now. But I'm playing with a long blade because unlike other Monster Hunter games where they're like, go and try out all the weapons, you can do that. But they start you with a long blade. So I was kind of like, okay, you get everything in your box. But in the tutorial, they're like, you should equip this long blade I got you.
That's interesting because like in like World, they're just like, which weapon do you want? You can choose any of them.
Yeah. You can still stop and do that in this game with no problems. But since they started you with the long blade, I was like, I'll play with the long blade for a little bit. I have no idea what I want to devote time to. I tried a great sword hunt last night. I crafted a lance right before I stopped playing. But yeah, I mean, it's in combat, it's very much a Monster Hunter game, but the other huge additions to this are you have a dog companion called a Palamute, which are very cute, and you can ride them, which is really cool.
Oh, that's cute.
It's also means that the maps are like very approachable, even though they're pretty big. You can move across them very fast, which feels really nice. And you can do everything on the back. You can sharpen your weapon while you're riding it. You can drink potions and eat food and stuff. And then the other thing that is awesome is the wire bug. These things are like kind of like hook shot zipline things. You can just shoot them into the air and stuff, or you can attach them to surfaces, and you can use them to like climb up on top of parts of the map that in a Monster Hunter game you normally would not be able to climb on. So you can get these cool views of like the land. And then also in combat, they allow you to zip around really fast, and you can do special attacks with them, which kind of expands your arsenal. I haven't gotten to the point where you can use them as traps, but there's each weapon does unique stuff with them. And they're cool. You get 2 of them, and then you can pick up more in the environment temporarily, and then they refill. They're like, they have cooldowns before you can dash with them again. And then the other kind of cool thing is around the map, there are these places where you can place, I forgot what they call them, like specific kinds of wire bugs that you get as rewards for quests. And they unlock like basically shortcuts. They unlock like they'll shoot you in the air in a direction. So there's a little bit of like exploring and expanding on the map to make it more navigable as well. And so that kind of increased mobility is probably the biggest game changer for the game. It makes it feel a little bit more fast paced, not quite a character action game, but closer to that than previous Monster Hunter games. And then the other thing that, aside from all of that other stuff, the other thing that I kind of like is they make it feel less shitty to fight the monsters. Like in Monster Hunter World, it felt like we are setting out, manifest destiny. We're colonizing a new land. And you know what's in this new land? Monsters. And we're going to fuck them up because we can make cool ass swords if we do that. And it was
the way that you say that really, really felt like that at like the initial narration of that game, where they're like very much like manifest destiny. And you're like, it's not exaggeration. Like I was, and
there are indigenous people there. Like there are people that live there, tribes of people. And that always felt really awkward to me in that game, specifically for some reason. And I know that there's a whole story with like the corruption and stuff and Nergigante, but it was all when I would kill something, when I would like hunt something, beat the shit out of it, and then in high fidelity, it would limp back to its like home and lay down in its bed that it made for itself. And it's like, okay, well, now I'm going to finish you off. Was like, it always made me feel kind of bad playing that game. This game doesn't have the same fidelity of the monster designs, and like the animations and stuff. And then also there isn't the same, like, you're in its lair situation. They run away from you after a time, but it's more like you'll find them just like somewhere else on the map, not going to their specific home. So I don't know. That doesn't bother everybody. It bothered me a lot with World. This game doesn't really do that, trigger that as much for me. And it feels a little bit more like the way they frame the story in this game is that the people of this village are on the defensive because monsters are going to start this thing called the rampage, which I guess is also a gameplay mechanic I haven't seen yet, where they're going to start like attacking the town. So far, the hunts that I have done have been things like, hey, we live here already. We're indigenous to this area. We need supplies from the monsters, or hey, this monster is blocking our trade route that we've been using for a long time. And it feels a little less bad because it's like, we're just trying to like get by and live here in this place that we've always lived. Which is to me a little better framing narratively for me to appreciate.
It's an established colony or whatever you want to call it, but yeah, or not even really a colony because it's people that have lived there forever at this point. I don't know, it's really good. I've seen people talk about how it's like the best Switch game since Breath of the Wild, and I can see why they would feel that way because it is certainly engaging me more than most of them that I have played. It is very much a Monster Hunter game. I think you have to be prepared for Monster Hunter. I think it'll be interesting to see. I have already heard some people talking about how like, oh, no, I'm not talking about about you, Andre, at all, because I know you know what Monster Hunter games are about. But there's a lot of people I think that got on the train with World, and I've heard of a few people already that are like, I'm gonna wait for World 2, and it's kind of like maybe what you really liked was Monster Hunter World, which is kind of distinct from these other games. So I think it'll be interesting to see how that hits for people.
Yeah, like my thing is just I'd rather play at like high frame rate, and the big thing is like monster variety. Whereas like this, I can't remember the exact number,
like
but
31,
it has
I think.
Something like that. Like I think 44 total, but that includes like the small monsters. And like that's less than was in World. And one of the main things that bummed me out about World was that it had less than like the 3DS games. Like the 3DS games, by the time they were done, were like over 100 like large monsters, and like that includes variants and stuff. But it just like, because there were fewer, it felt like more repetitive. So that's where I'm like, I don't need to do like the repetitive thing.
From what I have heard, part of the reason that this has fewer monsters is because they are more unique from monster to monster, but it also from a volume perspective. What I will say is as someone who is generally, sorry, Allison, generally kind of a Switch detractor, not to anybody else. I'm not out to convince anybody of anything, but someone who usually does not enjoy playing on the Switch, this game feels like it was made specifically for the Switch for a reason.
Yeah.
I have no doubt that the PC version will come out and it'll probably be really good and it'll have great frame rate and stuff. But after playing this game for a couple hours, I was like, oh, I get it. I think I would prefer to play this here than on a PC because it very much is the kind of game that is designed for playing on a couch or playing in handheld mode. And it feels like very appropriate to do that. Whereas if I was playing it on PC, I would probably be like, well, why wouldn't I just wait for World 2 on PC?
Yeah.
Like, why would I play this game on PC at all? It's actually surprising to me that they're even bringing it over because it very much feels like it was purpose made for Switch.
Have they announced it?
Or was that is that like a schedule?
They confirmed the leak.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's definitely confirmed for PC.
Yep. And it'll be out early 2022. But I would say if you're interested in this game and you have a Switch, I wouldn't necessarily say you need to wait for the PC version. I mean, as someone, again, who is a pretty big performance snob, this game is fine. I'm not having any issues with it from a performance perspective. It runs at locked 30 frames a second. And after playing for like 10 minutes, I get into the like, okay, this is playing games at 30 frames per second. So it feels as good as like Bloodborne or Souls games did.
Bloodborne is 30 frames per second locked. So
that's
I'm playing it right now. So it's like, I can deal with 30 frames per second, but it's mostly like Switch controller and all that stuff.
It's fine on a Pro controller to me, but
I have a question. I do not like Monster Hunter. I have tried so many times. World was my last attempt, where I probably gave it about 10 hours and then just completely fell off. And I think I finally figured out what about Monster Hunter it was that really just pushed me away from it. And it's I don't care about loot. I don't care about crafting. I don't care about, killing this monster 20 times to have enough materials to build this next best armor and then continue further. Like, I don't care about that stuff. Like, it's not a drive for me. And I personally found the old, at least those Monster Hunter games I played, like World and Try and stuff like that, to be just really grindy. Does the story in this actually give you some direction? Like, does it
Absolutely
seem like
not.
it's...
No.
Oh,
It is not a
great.
story-driven
Okay.
game at all. It is
Okay,
not for you.
then I'm probably not going to play it.
It is aggressively not for you, which is and the push away from story is part of what I like about it, because Monster Hunter World story is not particularly good in my opinion, and like, it's fine, it's not offensive aside from having some like weird colonialism stuff in there, but no, this game, they open up with like, the rampage is coming and we need to defend against the monsters, and then it's like, all right, you're a monster hunter now, go out there and kick ass and make your shit better so that when the rampage happens you can fight them. The characters are very charming. Like, there definitely are characters around town that you like get to know and that are cool, but it's not a narrative game at all. I would say that you probably wouldn't like it because it is all about the like kind of grinding to get more stuff, but beyond that, it is, you almost might like the fact that there is no narrative, because it's better than there being a narrative that gets in the way of the gameplay.
Bad narrative.
and I don't necessarily think that World's narrative was bad, but it definitely felt like
simple.
It was simple, and it felt like it got in the way to me of actually just like going out and playing the game. Whereas this game is like, no, you spend like, the tutorial takes like about an hour. It's not a particularly great tutorial for people, I think, who are brand new to Monster Hunter, but it'll get you by. It's fine. I wouldn't say avoid this if you haven't played it, but
there's definitely a series where you need to go online and look stuff up. I hear they've like streamlined some stuff in this version, like cooking and stuff, and they've kind of added stuff like around the periphery. But
I don't know
is Mouse Killer Chef there?
No.
Speaking of cooking,
there are palicos.
Grandma.
There are palicos that make this weird tea. You drink the tea and you eat the thing. They're called like dongos or something.
Like dongo, like the actual like rice cakey kind
balls.
of dessert.
Oh, like dongo.
I don't know if they're
DANGO.
Yeah, I think they are that actually.
Yeah, mochi. Yeah,
those are great.
And there's very cute cats that are like hammering this big, huge like ball sticky. I guess it must be sticky rice then. And it's like sticking.
It is dongo.
Makes sense, yeah, because it's like sticking to the hammers as they pull them off.
Yep.
That's dongo.
I've never seen it made before. So,
dude, it's fucking wild. They got like
it's so crazy.
And with hammers.
Yeah, that's
and
exactly
like
what's going on here.
Between the hammers, there's like another guy like slapping it.
It's that, but cats are doing that. So if you like the idea of cats doing that, then maybe you should just buy it.
Sounds
make it a live wallpaper on your TV.
Maybe I gotta buy this game.
Yeah.
That sounds very good.
I haven't gotten to eat any of it yet because I haven't unlocked that, but
it'll just make me want to eat mochi though, because mochi is good.
If you want a good introduction to dongo, just watch is it Toradora or is there Toradora that had dongo, or was it the other one? Was it the fucking Clannad? It might have been Clannad.
No, it's Clannad. Because Clannad has that dongo song.
Yeah, it's Clannad. Go watch Clannad. It's an okay anime, but it's got dongo.
I haven't watched it, but I just know that song.
So that stuff is very, there's a lot of very good character and aesthetic in that stuff. That's kind of part of what I'm getting at with the town is full of it. It's not like because there's no narrative, it's just like sanitized or something. It very much has a lot of flavor. When you hunt a new monster for the first time, there's like a person who sings a poem over like very traditional, like, I don't know what you would call it, but like traditional Japanese music.
Like a shamisen, like a super like twangy like guitar type sound.
Yeah,
cool.
with like Yep. And the poems are really weird, but they're cool. And it'll show like the monster like running around, and it has like film grain all over the screen, like you're watching an old movie. And it's like telling this poem about the monster. And it's kind of like doing it in the way that you would talk about like, oh, the legendary creature that lives up in the mountains that is seldom seen, but it da 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 da. And that stuff is really fun aesthetically. And the way that the progression works in this game is also pretty cool because, or I think it's pretty cool because it goes back to the old way of doing it. Some people have said this is a downgrade for them, but instead of having like, there's one track of quests and 80% of them you can do multiplayer, but then 20% of them you have to do solo, like in World. In this game, it just has the single player quest list and the hub quest list where you can play with other people. So you can you're either playing single player or multiplayer quests, which I like that progression being separated personally, but I know some people don't.
So is there anything in particular that you've seen that lends credence to people saying like this is the best Switch game since Breath of the Wild? Like, is there anything specific to this versus other Monster Hunters that stands out?
Oh yeah, I mean the addition of the Palamutes and the wire bug just changes the way you move through the space, and it makes it feel without making the combat feel. If anything, it makes the combat feel more deep and strategic. And because that's the thing with Monster Hunter, that is, it's like even more this than the Darks than Souls like games is they're action games, but it's like, okay, I'm going to push the attack button one time. I'm maneuvering around this monster. I'm avoiding attacks, and now I'm going to attack it once, and then I need to back off and avoid it. There's some weapons obviously that are like dual blades are way faster and stuff, but it's just not like other action RPGs where you're button mashing and stuff like that. It's more about positioning and like openings and finding openings to get attacks in with. I think that the Palamute and the wire bug both give you a little bit more survivability because you have an additional teammate there that's kind of pulling aggro from smaller monsters. And then also you can just move around the world a lot more freely, which makes it feel more engaging for me to explore. I know for a lot of people, world's density made it more engaging to explore those spaces. To me, the density of the places and the maps in the world was actually overwhelming. I was kind of like, wait, I'm here to hunt monsters. This map is gorgeous, but I don't really want to like explore like this weird like hole in the wall that leads to more herbs or whatever. It's beautiful, but it wasn't really what I was there for. And this game is more about like, no, the exploration is you are finding new places on top of places that have monsters up there. Like, oh wow, I wouldn't have even thought I would have been able to get on top of this huge ledge. And look, there's a great Easylith up here that I can take down. So I think I definitely am enjoying it more than I enjoyed the early hours of World, but I think that's more about what you're looking for. I don't know that I would say it's like a better game, but in terms of comparing it to other Switch games, I'm finding it more engaging than most games that I play there. And then I think the performance helps a lot for me to enjoy it.
And one last question. Have you done any multiplayer yet? Or have you been purely solo?
I've only been playing single player because I played last night. I have one friend an online friend who is way deep on Monster Hunter games and plays every one of them and is probably already like into the 4-star multiplayer quests because I think they play with their partner, and so I'm sure they're deep in it. And then I know Alex from Super GG and I are planning to play at some point, and Sam and I are actually going to try to play today a little later on. So that's the plan. I need to figure out what weapon I'm going to like main, because Longblade's fun, but I might want to do something else. And at this point there's like 12 different weapon types. So
I mean, you can do anything, baby. You don't got to focus on one. You
really don't.
You get one of everything.
Yeah. Which, that's what you do over time, right? Is you kind of build it all.
No, some weapons are better fit for certain monsters. So
Right.
like this one, no, it's super tough, so I can't cut it with my long blade. So I need to pull out the hammer so I can like break its
For
shell.
sure.
Or,
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, I don't know. If you like Monster Hunter, definitely pick this up. If you don't think you like Monster Hunter, do not play this game because it is Monster Hunter as Monster Hunter. And if you've never played a Monster Hunter, I think this is as good a place to jump on as World. I've seen people say that World has a better on ramp. I don't know if I agree. I think this game is you get the Monster Hunter experience either way. And like you were saying, you kind of got to do a little bit of outside research usually to fully get it. But I don't know if I would say I'm not sure that it's engaging me as deeply as Final Fantasy 14 is, but it's close, and that's saying something. So I'm really enjoying it. And then I'll just hit briefly because I wanted to play it before last week's podcast, and then I didn't play that much of it this week, but I did play some of Mundown, which is a horror game from a single person Swiss developer. Cool. It has like a hand penciled aesthetic. I don't know the technical process for it actually being made, but I do believe that the developer hand drew a lot of the art in the game and then transferred it, scanned it or whatever to be used as textures in the game.
Kind of like Darkest Dungeon almost.
There's a little bit of parallel there. This game is grayscale, so it's like fully penciled. There's no color in it.
Cool.
And it is really interesting. Really, really cool game. If you have any affection for horror, I would recommend it. It is a first-person game, and at first glance, it appears that it's going to be kind of like, walking simulator-y with some puzzles, but it actually is much more of like a pretty holistic survival horror experience where you have an inventory, you have resources, you have upgrades you're finding at times, and there's combat. And then tons of exploration, but it very much is the kind of game that feels like you're doing something different from like moment to moment pretty consistently. There's like vehicle driving in it at a certain point. I haven't quite gotten the car keys yet. And the premise and story is just like wild. It's like you start off and you're on this bus to this town in the mountains in the Swiss Alps, and it's like you get a letter from the priest there. It's where your grandfather lives, and the priest is like, oh, there was a tragedy, your grandfather's barn burned down and he passed away, but don't worry, we took care of it, we already buried him. Don't come here, just don't, stay away from here, just know this bad thing happened. And your character's like, well, no, I'm gonna go see what it's like. My grandfather's house that I stayed in when I was a child is nearby, and the barn burned down and stuff. And you get there and it's very clear that something weird is happening. And it does really trippy visual stuff a lot of the times with these visuals. There's a moment that I won't spoil for people who play it that sold me on it, where that involves a mirror. And it is one of the most unique moments I've seen in a horror game in a long time. It like has the emotional, this game does not have any jump scares that I've seen so far. This moment has the psychological effect of a jump scare, because while it is not a jump scare, nothing is happening suddenly. It is like if you could draw a jump scare out over 20 seconds, because the thing that is happening is so deeply unsettling and frightening. And I just was sitting there like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And it's not even like there's like a monster sneaking around and you're hiding under a bed or something like that. It's not that cliched. It's just really, really cool. And you can't look away because it's so visually arresting and it's just so cool what it's doing. So highly recommend it if you like horror, if you like weird stuff. I mean, it is an unsettling game, but like I said, there hasn't been any jump scares. yet. And even in the exploration, there was only one time where I was like, I don't want to go in there. I don't know how it progresses. It might be that there's a lot more of that later on.
That sounds awesome.
But it's really, really cool. I think it's definitely going to be, it seems like it got a lot of buzz when it hit, and now it's sort of fizzling. That's the tail on it hasn't been as long as I was expecting, but don't sleep on it. Make sure you check it out if you're into horror games. It's on everything too. It's on like PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. And it's $20, but I think it would be worth $20 if it were 2 hours long, but I get the impression it's more like a 8 to 10 hour game. It's not like hyper short. But I haven't finished it yet, so I could be wrong, but it's really cool.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, I could definitely go for a good horror game.
I think you would like it. There's a little bit of jank here and there. Like it certainly is a one person game.
That's fine. My favorite horror game is a one person horror game that has a ton of jank. So
I haven't encountered any
hard.
I haven't encountered any hard like bugs though. There hasn't been anything that like ruined my progress. I in fact think I kind of broke something a little bit, and the game recovered fine. It I didn't lose any progress or anything.
That's awesome.
I think I was supposed to take one path to an area, but I found a way I could go around, like kind of go around some Skyrim up some hills that I don't think I was supposed to use, kind of on accident. It was fine. Nothing bad happened from it that I've seen so far. So yeah, great game. I recommend it.
All right. And that's Mundaun.
Yeah, Mundaun. And you will know immediately if you're looking at it.
It's got a goat on the like title splash art.
There's some goat stuff in there for sure.
Is it simulated goats? Would you call it a goat simulator?
There's the goat does look similar to this goat in Goat Simulator. I think also I will say too, if you like
my ways you can draw a goat.
This game is obviously very different aesthetically, but if you like Midsommar, I think you should definitely play this video game.
Oh god damn it!
It has the vibe of like an A34 kind of thing to me in some ways, and I think that it's definitely.
You just said.
Yeah, I knew what that was going to do to you, Allison.
You activated Allison.
It doesn't look anything like Midsommar, but it has the tone is very similar because you're like, this town. This is the one
game that I don't have to want to buy because
this is the podcast where we just ruin Allison's life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just has
Mundaun.
It has that similar vibe of like, oh, this is fun. This area is kind of cool. There's cool stuff. And then you're just like in the back of your mind, you're like, also there's boards on the church windows, and I don't know why that's happening. It's not as violent or gory though as Midsommar. It hasn't been like that yet.
That movie goes. Oh god.
This game might later.
Is it largely like a supernatural kind of horror, or is it kind of ambiguous? Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's ambiguous. I mean, it's not like it's like, oh, there's a ghost here. But let's say the monsters that I'm currently fighting are absolutely supernatural in nature.
Fighting?
Oh yeah, it's combat. There's combat in it for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So far it's pretty simple, but I don't know how it progresses. I mean, we're talking about like you get health upgrades by finding coffee and then taking a pot and filling it with water and then heating the coffee and finding some wood for a fire and some matches to light the wood. Mm-hmm. And then in your house, you are making the coffee and drinking it out of a cup that you also found. And then it gives you a health increase. Like it is doing even that kind of like almost survival game stuff where you're finding items in the environment that help you and stuff like that too.
Okay, cool.
And it has like good puzzles so far also that are kind of cool. So yeah, I don't know if you like that style of game, you should play it.
All right. Well, it's my turn. And I woke up, I don't know, 3 days ago. Unfortunately, I woke up.
And you haven't slept since?
Wow. You woke up 3 days ago.
Yeah. And I had an email that was like review code for this game. I'm like, what?
Was the email to gaming@fix.space?
No, that's where you can send all your hot takes on the Joker and Batman and the award winning.
No, we have a comic book podcast.
Like a Batman
Who
movie.
knows the comics that exist in space?
Critically acclaimed Heavensward Thoughts, and
That you can send to gaming, but send your comic stuff to comics that fix that space.
other games that Allison should play. All that good stuff. Anything you
Continue to ruin my life. Okay.
Oh, you should
Yeah,
download
the,
Cozy Grove also, else.
Yeah, it's basically like Portrait of a Lady on Fire. So
No, that's not what Cozy Grove is.
I know. I'm just activating you
But it's
again.
on Apple Arcade. It's very cute, and you would like it, Allison. I haven't played it yet. Also, would have talked about it. Anyway, Andre.
Yeah, this looks
I was
good,
playing
too.
the Bob Odenkirk's
this is
Little
so
Women
cute.
game. And no, I got this email for this game called How to Win. It is created by some British theater troupe that was not able to do theater things last year because last year so they were like, we're going to pivot to making an indie game. And the most succinct way I could describe How to Win is it is a Newgrounds Flash like visual novel. Like that is what it is. It's got like little mini games throughout, but it's like that aesthetic. It's like, like chalkboard or like crayon painted with some like basic characters and stuff.
Like animations that are just like thing moving from
it's just-
left
it's
side of screen to
literally
right
just
side of
flash
screen.
keyframes, like I
Yeah.
put the spin on it. Like it is a very simple game. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll check it out. They sent me the key, and I was surprised to find that this game is like really pushing a social agenda. Like that I would say I'm pretty on board with. I don't know if like their delivery is all the way there. But like they're very much taking the events of 2020. This was made over like the spring into the summer, and like in five episodes. And they're like pulling the things that like the causes of it and what's happening and trying to like incorporate that into the story that's very irreverent and like not actually related, but doing like, oh, it's symbolism, and look at this dragon who's on top of all its wealth, and nobody has all the people down here don't have what they need, and we use the sword of redistribution. So it's a little heavy-handed with that kind of stuff. But
is it actually called the Sword of Redistribution?
Yes, the Sword of Redistribution, and you use it to slay the dragon. But then you realize, wait, there are even more dragons behind it with even more wealth, and slaying one doesn't actually solve any of the problems.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and they get this whole game came out like over the course of the summer of 2020, and now they're remastering it, like whatever that means, and putting it up on Steam sometime this week. I think the 31st.
Wait, sorry. Was the original release put out like just on their
episodically.
own, on like itch or something, or was it on
don't know.
Newgrounds?
I don't know. Well, no,
wish it
Newgrounds
was
is
on
closed,
Newgrounds.
isn't it? I wonder if it actually I
Is
don't know. It says
is Newgrounds closed?
not Newgrounds.
I mean,
Flash is
Flash-
done.
Flash is
but
done,
Yeah,
but-
not Newgrounds isn't closed. Because it's maybe
Newgrounds
they
will
made
never
it in
die.
maybe they made it in Flash, and the remaster was to put it into Unity. I don't know. I didn't see anything about like that history of it.
Okay.
But so because it was so Hidden Track, the theater troupe that made it, their thing is they're like an interactive theater presentation or theater experience. So you go and somehow you're helping like steer the course of the play, I guess. And they took that philosophy into How to Win. And so the way they started was they asked their like fans, so we're going to make a game. How do we win? And then they got suggestions, and they put that like, they were like, okay, we like these 3 suggestions. Then they put them to a vote. And then that like influenced what the story was for the first episode. And that first episode was How to Win, Make the Most Money. And then they from there, like, so the whole story is about making money. It's like you got kind of like a clicker thing going on, so like an idle game stuff happening and stuff like that. And then you move on to like the second one was like, oh, slay the dragon. And then from there, there's like others, like they bring in other suggestions. Like sometimes like halfway through, they'll have extra suggestions. I'm not sure exactly how they got all that stuff, but because of that, it can feel like a little bit like you're playing just like a super free form tabletop game with like friends, but you don't necessarily know the people, so you're like, well, this isn't where I would go with this story. But it can get just totally off the wall and, you know, really silly stuff. Like one point it's like, team up with my 5-year-old, this monster my 5-year-old son drew, and then they put the 5-year-old child's monster in the game. So, you know, they really took the community involvement stuff
That's
like
cool.
seriously. I'm not sure how much this game is going to cost. It's on Steam.
Sorry,
and
what is the gameplay like?
I mean, it's like a visual novel. Like you're just going through like a story. Sometimes like you're selecting like an option. Sometimes like, oh, here's 3 choices, or, you know, you've got like I said, the first one is kind of like an idle game stuff going on. Then there's like some other like click around the screen stuff. It's very basic. It's not, there's no points or anything like that. It's just like, let's, you know, tell like a little interactive story.
Okay.
And it's, you know, it's basic. It's not gonna like move you to tears or anything. There are like some multiple pathways and like hidden scenes and stuff like that you can get. But yeah, it's interesting in like a COVID, like this, you know, we're inspired. Like they very directly start to call out like Black Lives Matter, the protests, and like statistics around violence against trans people and Black folks and income inequality, climate change, like all these things like start getting pulled up. I think they're a little ham-fisted in the way they do it, but
I feel like that's kind of going along with the new Groundsy aesthetic.
yeah, like, yeah, it's not like a bad. I see what they're going for with it, and with the time frame they made it in, and you know how short or how long these episodes are. Like, it's not like, I'm not expecting like some, you know, master class in subtlety or anything.
Yeah, and like it seems like, I imagine most of this theater troupe were not professional game developers before making this. So as kind of like,
I don't think so.
yeah, as a first effort and kind of like learning the tools and putting something together, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's very basic, but like they, you know, they picked an aesthetic, they, you know, they ran with it and they made it work.
They shipped it. That's extremely hard.
Yeah.
As someone who's done this shit.
It.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the best. Like prototyping and then fixing up the prototype. So good on them.
Yeah. Let me see if they have a.
I will tell you.
Free demo. There's a free demo up.
Searching for this game is extremely hard.
Oh yeah. If you
how to win.
Yeah. Hidden track.
It's on Steam, and you're like, wait.
Yeah,
it's
finding
on
it on Steam was easy.
But if you like look up Hidden Track, which is the developer / theater troupe, I think you'll probably come across it.
Yeah,
not sure.
Let me tell you, when I was finding videos for the video version of our podcast, searching how to win gameplay did not yield many results.
That's
or not helpful results, but that's fine.
It's there's. Yeah, I don't, like I said, I don't know what the price is going to be, but, you know, check it out, look at the trailer, maybe play the demo. I don't know if the demo is like actually part of the game or if it's like a unique thing. But, you know, yeah, I'd say it's worth checking out as like a weird, like new Groundsy type experience in 2021. And like, you know, new Flash basically, and then also just
HTML5.
no, I mean like NU Flash.
Oh, yeah.
Like new metal,
Oh,
but with
that's
Flash.
Yeah, like a
How much rapping is in it?
Is Fred Durst in it?
No.
Hmm.
There's an
Korn?
elephant who there's a Scottish elephant who reads the news.
Is Fieldy in there?
His dreams are.
How many people?
This is actually one of his
scat?
dreams. Maybe Funbo the Clown does. And that's how to win on Steam. You can play the demo now. It'll be out in a few days on Steam. I didn't see any. The game's out. I didn't see any embargo. So there you go.
Well,
I looked, but people played this game. So yes,
Cool.
Pat.
cool. Nothing.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
thought you were
I don't
gonna
have
say something.
Unless you want to, I can give you some live updates. Qualifying starts in 1 minute and 11 seconds in Bahrain.
Wow.
Well, you know what else starts right now? The news.
Dun, dun.
It's always happening all around us. We live in the news. One thing we will not be living in.
From How to Win.
Yes, that is
That you can't. That's copyrighted. You can't use that.
Who copyrighted the breaking news sound? We got live from Sony. Just now hearing. Was this confirmed? The PlayStation 3, Vita, and PlayStation Portable stores will close in a few months.
I don't think
I
Sony
don't know if it was
confirmed it.
confirmed.
I think it was.
Was it?
At
so.
least
Give me a
supposed
sec.
to be
I'll check.
confirmed soon, maybe. But basically, the idea is you will not be able to buy games on any of those platforms any longer in the coming months, or by like summertime. Which
Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not confirmed.
I don't
It
think
looks
it's been
Yeah.
confirmed.
I think it was like end of the month was when they were supposed to say something, and they haven't quite said anything yet. So
I mean, you'd hope that maybe the leak caused people and the meltdown, the good meltdown. I don't mean to say that in like a pejorative way. The important response to it that everyone has had will make them think about it before they shut it down. That's happened before with these kinds of things.
Because they just made all those games playable or purchasable on the say the PC or the PlayStation 5.
There's people doing that, so it will be.
But it's Sony's
I know what you mean.
responsibility to make keep this stuff going.
And I mean, like the part of the reason that I feel have always felt comfortable buying games on Steam is because Valve has been pretty vocal that they've been like, look, if there's a time when our company has to shut down anyway, we're just gonna take all the restrictions off of your library, and you can give you plenty of notice, and you can download it all and back it up on your own media, and then there won't be any DRM on it at that point. How they would do that and whether they would do that now, I mean, it's been 15, 20 years since they said that, so whatever. But there's at least been a commitment to that kind of thing, and it just seems like from platforms like Sony, it's like, who fucking knows?
It's and like we don't know like the finer details. Like, can you still download your purchases, things you've purchased? Can you and like presumably you cannot buy games anymore, which that sucks. If you can still download them, at least that's something. But like, are people still buying like PlayStation 3, PSP, PS Vita games?
You'd be surprised at the number of people that I've seen that do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I still am in that mode where I'm like, should I buy another Vita, and should I buy a bunch of games on
there's a not insignificant group of people that goes like thrifting, and they'll pick up like a Vita and like
Totally.
like just wipe the Vita, make a new account, and just fill it with games. Like they will do that, and same with PSP Go's and stuff like that are purely, well, Vita's not purely online, but like the Go, you there's no UMD slot. You can't watch Dodgeball on there. Like
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've seen a surprising number to me
one
of people.
issue with the Go.
Yeah.
I've seen a surprising number of people that in like Twitter threads and stuff who've been like, hey, I could not afford a PS4 and I certainly can't afford a PS5. So yeah, I'm still playing games on PS3. This sucks.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah.
hopefully that we get some clarification on this soon.
Yeah, it would be good. And I think that I would wait and see everybody should continue to pressure them to do the right thing here. But, it's possible that that the reports were accurate, but that they'll reevaluate based on the response.
I don't believe they'll reevaluate based on the Sony we see now. But
yeah, I don't know.
That's true.
But I think this is a very easy way for them early in this generation to say, we don't fucking care about you. So keep that in mind going forward. And the last time they did that was disastrous for them. So I'm hoping that maybe there's somebody.
Start of the PS3. Yeah.
I don't think Jim Ryan gives a shit, but I'm hoping that there's somebody that has his ear that is like,
Jim Ryan
hey,
just doesn't understand why you would want to play the PS3. Those games look so bad.
Wow, that Gran Turismo stuff was amazing. But like for me, the biggest concern the biggest like shitty part about it is from the preservation standpoint.
Yeah.
Like, especially games that only got digital releases, so largely indies, like that. Maybe no one took the time to back it up and put it somewhere, and suddenly if these stores close, yeah, exactly.
I mean, yeah,
but
anytime,
that sucks. And it's just kind of an artifact of moving to a more of a digital future where, like, old games, Atari games, those were carts. You can physically find carts, even if they're really rare. One probably exists somewhere. But like with the digital stuff, if it does not exist, or if the server is turned off and there's no other way to get it, there's no other way to get it. It's just, it's gone.
Yeah. And then there's like the whole like IP and, like rights for distribution, and like with Scott Pilgrim as an example, like that game disappearing for like over a decade or however long it was. And then just now coming back.
I mean, aside from convenience and like not having and the disk drive being loud, there's nothing they've done to sell a digital future where that's the only way to get games.
Yeah.
I mean, and all of the stuff with it is negative as we're seeing. So they really need to do work to make people feel more confident in that.
I can't think of a single person or a single reason why one would celebrate it going away.
No.
Other than Sony saving a couple grand a month on server costs or whatever it costs to continue hosting those. I don't know. But
and I guess what I think is, like you were saying, Andre, they're the ones who chose to start selling games digitally. It's their responsibility to maintain those servers, and they should have thought about this then.
I don't even think it's because they chose to just, it's their platform. They're hosting these games. They have games on that platform.
Yeah.
But, games like Metal Gear Solid 4, that is the only place you can play that game. You can buy a physical copy, but like at this point, good luck finding one. I don't know. Maybe they're out there.
No, that's a good point actually.
But there are plenty of like Yakuza. Well, now it's available on other consoles, but like there are lots of games that only came out like in the West on PlayStation, PS3, like digital.
Heavenly Sword.
That was
on play Heavenly Sword. I know it was on
Nowhere, but yeah. So lots of games like that you just can't get that
layer.
Otherwise. You don't need to.
And of course, it also just like encourages. I don't think of it as piracy when you can't get it any other way. So I think emulation is fine in that arena, but it also encourages people to pirate stuff that's coming out, because if it's like, well, if I buy this on PSN, they're just going to shut the store down in 15 years. Maybe I want to play it in 15 years. So instead, I'm just going to pirate it, because what confidence do I have in purchasing it? Pirating it is more secure for me. So it's just bad. And I can't fault people for thinking that way, even though I'm generally pretty anti-piracy. Like, I'm very pro preservation and emulation. So it's like I'm starting to become more pro piracy with like the companies making decisions like this.
Yeah, and there are cases when piracy is a better option. Like,
Yeah.
like I think I've talked about it on this podcast before, where I use Pro Tools and I legally own Pro Tools, but the pirated version works better than my legally owned version.
Yeah.
Like
Just wild.
it's stupid. Like I use a pirated version of Pro Tools. Sorry for outing myself, but yes, I
Well, you
own
own
the
it,
copy
though.
of I own the exact
Yeah.
same thing because the stuff that the community made, and for nefarious purposes, mind you, but like it works better than the original, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, whatever. It's
Yeah.
it's
I
a
mean, I
weird-
think you should obviously support
weird.
developers and give money
Yeah.
to the people making this stuff. But at the same time, like, I can't fault someone for feeling that a pirated copy is going to be more available to them over time.
It's less ephemeral, or potentially so.
And when you know you have such a huge company as Sony, that's kind of a bummer that piracy would be considered less ephemeral. Or yeah,
Yeah. You would think
And
they would
then,
have the
like,
resources to make sure that
yeah.
stuff stays available.
yeah,
you would
right,
think.
exactly.
And they do, to be clear, they do have those resources. They're just
Right.
choosing how to deploy them here.
Yeah. But you know, all is forgiven because they're giving away 9 free games right now on PSN for PS4 and PS5. Their Play at Home initiative, which they did last year, continuing this year. They've got a bunch of games going out. Like they got some PSVR games, Moss, Astrobot,
Yeah,
Thumper.
Moss is supposed to be really good.
I played like a demo. Is okay, I guess. Enter the Gungeon, Subnautica, Abzu, yeah. So
Pretty good
lots
games.
of-
All right. Subnautica
Yeah.
so Subnautica is like a genre defining game of the generation for sure.
Abzu's really good too. Like it's basically Underwater Journey.
and then next month, Horizon Zero Dawn, complete edition will be free.
Cool.
Also in my opinion, game of the generation.
And that's
And-
that's a beefy game to give away too.
Yeah.
So that
especially
that
the
includes
complete
the
edition, which is cool.
Yeah, because it has the
Yeah.
expansion and everything too. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then you know, they've got that sequel coming out later this year. So
Yeah. Makes sense to get it in people's hands.
and then Ratchet 2 was free or is still free. I'm not sure about that. But yeah, Ratchet and Clank, that like reboot kind of game they did. And then there's also a Funimation and a Wakanim. What is this? It's anime. I don't know. This is some anime trial you can do for like 3 months, which
That's cool.
that's a lot. That's a lot
There's
of
some
anime.
there's some good stuff on Funimation, but be warned, that app sucks huge ass. but
Yeah.
but they have good
Sony
content.
owns it.
Yeah.
Weird.
they fix
It's a thing Sony owns sucks huge ass.
Oh, it sucked
Yeah,
ass
sensing
before
a
that,
theme
but
here.
don't worry.
Yeah, well, all right. Next up, speaking of our console services, Xbox Live Gold, or Xbox Live is no more. It's now the Xbox Network.
Whatever.
Wow.
Long live the Xbox network, I guess.
And
whatever.
now they have finally made good on their earlier apology where they said, okay, sorry, we're not going to raise the price of Xbox Gold. We're just going to let people who want to play Fortnite play it for free. They don't need to pay for gold.
Yep.
So like they unrestricted a bunch of things that were behind a paywall, like free to play games, party chat, stuff like that.
It does suck though if you bought a year of Xbox Live to play Fortnite and you don't play other multiplayer games, and now it's just going to be free. It's so bad the way they've handled that stuff.
I have no idea what the work is there. But Fortnite's got cross-play. I mean, maybe you got like I guess they've had the cheapest console for a while with like the Series S and like now the
1S and the Series S.
before and the Series S. Like maybe that got people, but I'm like, if you were just buying it to play Fortnite, I feel like you'd buy like a Switch or like a PS4
or a sick gaming rig.
Yeah, you'd buy
Sick
Or a
PC.
or
for Fortnite.
RTX
phone-
3090
or a phone.
For what it's worth,
Right, right,
Fortnite is one of the most incredible looking games on PlayStation 5. It looks gorgeous, and there's a 120 FPS mode. It's
Does your TV do 120 FPS?
no, it doesn't. I haven't seen that.
But it's there.
I know it's there,
Oh.
and the 4K 60 looks amazing.
Next up, more Microsoft news. This one, Microsoft possibly in talks to buy Discord for $10 billion.
So ridiculous. That's the price where they're like, we don't want anyone else to bid on this, so we're gonna leak that we're gonna buy this for $10 billion.
Just like they've done like the Discord Nitro in Game Pass, like
Yep.
you get
that's
like
true.
a month of Nitro with Game Pass and stuff. But you can get Discord on an Xbox? Is that a thing?
I didn't think it was on consoles.
Think so.
Uh,
Yeah, you can
then
connect
why-
it.
My mom was actually asking me about this. Hi, Mom, if you're listening.
Why?
she thought it was already on consoles.
I think
well,
you
I
can
thought it was on
connect
Maybe
it.
it is.
Yeah,
It
I
might
think
be,
you
I
can
don't know.
connect it, and like you can get like your whatever they
Okay.
call
Oh,
the,
you can
the,
like
the
connect
updates
your
and stuff.
your gamer
Yeah, so it's like,
tag
oh,
to it.
you're playing Destiny 2 on Xbox. Like it'll show that as your live presence or whatever they call it. But I don't think there is actually a Discord client on Xbox.
Wait, how do you use Discord on Xbox One?
No idea.
No, but either way,
A link account. I think it's just, I think it is just like showing people what you're playing.
yeah, I think it's just the presence. But like, yeah, it's not just Microsoft who's in talks with Discord. Apparently, they've been poking other
shopping
people
around.
Yeah, like Amazon, Epic, Google. Those have all
Which,
been
like,
talked with.
Of the people to buy them, I guess Microsoft would be the best out of that group.
Amazon would not be great.
No, and neither would
Nor-
Google.
nor
Google
would
be real
Google.
bad.
Epic is like whatever.
Epic
I
could
don't
be
know.
good because at least they're platform agnostic, but they have their whole beef with Apple, and I use Discord on iOS pretty consistently, so that could suck for me personally. But it sucks that we live in a society where this is
do.
just how it has to work. Like if I was a CEO of Discord and I'm making like the money that I'm sure that the CEO of Discord makes, I'd be like, fuck yeah, let's all do this. Like, we're making a little bit more money, and let's get everybody who works here a better paycheck, and
Well, I mean,
keep making
that's
this
why-
rad service for people. And instead it's like, no, we must have more.
that's why
It
there's
sucks.
also they've apparently been optioning the option to go public, which like
Right.
which also makes sense if lining their pockets is what matters. But
That's the
when I was-
only reason for companies to exist is to make money in this society, unfortunately.
We live in a society.
Distribute
We do.
stupid memes in the case of Discord.
Yeah.
Yeah. So something that, well, for one, 2 points. One, I saw a lot of people on like Twitter and stuff melting down, being like, "Oh, if Microsoft buys Discord, Discord's ruined. It's going to be like Skype and Teams and blah blah blah." It's like, no, it's not. It's fine. They bought GitHub.
How do we know that?
Because they bought GitHub and LinkedIn, and those are still completely autonomous. Like Microsoft of today is much different than Microsoft of 10 years ago that bought Skype. Like it's not going to be as bad as people think. Like
I don't know.
it would be really cool.
We'll see for sure.
I'm willing to put my reputation on the line with that one, that they would be able to operate autonomously, because that's the way Microsoft works these days. But the other point that I'm going to echo that Greg from Bread Radio brought up when we were actually talking about the same story is Discord has kind of a seedy underbelly that goes unmoderated. Things like people distributing child pornography or illegal wares, or, you know, shit that's real fucking objectively terrible.
Yeah.
Where it, like, if someone like a Microsoft or Google or Epic or whoever, or especially if it goes public, that they're going to have to address that shit. Like they're going to have to, because if that stuff starts bubbling up, that like, again, because it does bubble up because they don't do any moderation from their side, from the Discord side. They completely rely on moderation of each individual server by
Sure.
volunteers, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that stuff comes out, like that fucks over Microsoft now. You know, so it's,
I don't know if Facebook has come out relatively unscathed.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think investors give a shit as long as it's making money. And I don't think that Microsoft really gives it. I think either Microsoft takes a heavier hand in Discord and forces some of that moderation, and then they're kind of less in, which I think would be good, of course, to be clear. I'm not arguing that, like, I'm not trying a gotcha here, but I think more likely is what you're, if they allow them to operate independently, is what you're saying, where it's like, well, we own them, but you know, they run their stuff, and you know, we're definitely concerned about this, and we're going to impress upon them that they need to fix this. But I don't know if I think it will really change much. So many social media platforms have those problems, and it's awful, and everyone should be a lot more angry about it, but it seems like not enough people with the money are. Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but I hope you're right.
Tough.
I hope it gets better, obviously.
It goes back to the same thing with like Microsoft buying up a bunch of studios. I'm just like, stop consolidating all the talent under like fewer and fewer roofs. Like, we need to stop this. It's silly. It's bad for the health of the industry. Like, you know, people are getting paid, but what happens when someone goes, why do we have like multiple chat and like video clients? Like, we don't, you know, cut Skype, and you know, all those people lose a job, or cut Discord, or you know, the team is getting the axe, you know, whatever that is. Like, we need to just like stop letting all this get consolidated under like fewer and fewer companies. Like,
I don't know if I fully agree, just purely because, like, I think on one hand, yes, I do think them absorbing everyone is getting monopolistic in nature, and I would argue that they are acquiring too much stuff at this point. Like, it's concerning, and it's harder to support it. But I don't think just closing down the old stuff is the solution, because like that's one of my main gripes with Google.
What I'm saying is that the cause of this, if they acquire Discord, what's the reason for them to even keep the doors open at Skype? Or
you know, someone starts looking at the books and going, wait, why do we have 3 chat clients? Like, what are we doing here? Or you know, because you know, Microsoft is a big company. They're not just a gaming company.
Yeah,
and they are different from the company they were 10 years ago. Much like the Xbox division is very different from the company it was 10 years ago. And the reason they have to buy all these studios now is because they're the company 10 years ago that cut and axed all their talent. Then do we just get back into that cycle of them suddenly axing people because they've amassed all this stuff, and they're like, we picked up too much?
I think that's what I'm wary of, is with the way the system works. You're totally right that I don't think that, you know, Phil Spencer, I think Phil Spencer is going to say, oh no, buying Discord is great because it allows us to have better cross communication between Xbox and PC platforms when players are playing on Game Pass and all this stuff. But the minute in 5-6 years, when they get a new CEO and the CEO says, why the fuck do we own 20 game studios? They've put out 4 games in the past 5 years. Shut this shit down. Why are we entertaining this Discord stuff? Absorb it. Come on. Yeah. Like, that's unfortunately the way that corporations work, is that they're like one seesaw away from somebody coming in higher up than a Phil Spencer and saying, this does not make financial sense. What are we doing here? So hopefully they can make it.
Long-term issue, like a lot of times, especially if you have like a new CEO coming in, it's going to be the short financial gain to be like, see, look at what I'm doing.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be a new CEO. I mean, we look at like Bobby Kotick, and you know, like the same thing. It's the same cycle at Activision Blizzard over and over, is record profits, lay off 200 people, and CEO and like the executives all get massive bonuses.
So I hope you're right, Alex, that Microsoft is different now and they wouldn't do that. But I just have no confidence or faith in any corporation to actually do what's best for the industry it supports or its people.
Microsoft right now, you know, obviously they're looking at buying it, but in 5-10 years, who knows what Microsoft's going to look like and what the media landscape and all that stuff is going to be.
Yeah.
And like, you know, Google lasted a year before like the people at the top were like, nope, get them out of here. We're going to axe all the studios we just bought last year. Like,
Yeah,
Did
which
you
means
give
that
them time to do anything.
I do think that Discord would get 5 to 10 years at Microsoft as opposed to 1 to
6
5
months.
at Google. So I do
right.
think that it would be better. Of the
God.
companies interested, I think Microsoft would be the best place for Discord. But it doesn't sound like for Discord remaining a privately held company is an option.
Yeah.
In their opinion. And in that case, like, I don't know if them going public or them being purchased by Microsoft for $10 billion is better for people who use their services.
Like
it's hard to know.
their like weird subscription thing, like the game subscription thing, like was not successful at all.
Well, there certainly is
No.
an aspect of, if you look at Discord, I'm in several of them. One of them is super active, huge Discord with a bunch of, not huge, but there are Discords with thousands and thousands of people. This is like a couple hundred people, huge to me. And, you know, community that plays a specific game along with other games. And it works really great for services. No one's paying anything for it.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I mean, there's no ads running on it or anything. So I do
Mhm.
understand that. How are they making money is definitely a question. And I mean, there's ways you can still be a Discord Nitro person. You don't get the game subscription stuff, but there's like a way to pay and be a super user or whatever.
You take your cross channel emotes or whatever.
And in that way, I mean, maybe the only way for them to exist long term is to be purchased, but it just seems
Right. And to
like
the whole plan is like building up a, you know, oh, look at how good we are. Purchase us, please. We're a good.
Which
platform.
That's I mean
Which has
that's
definitely happened before.
That's what startups do. That's, you know,
Yeah.
they start and they have no money and they barely scrape by until someone buys them. But yeah, it's basically, it's just, I want to stop seeing that, like, the same few companies buying up everything. But, you know, we've got Embracer, Tencent, Microsoft, Sony to a lesser extent. Nintendo doesn't really do that kind of stuff. Epic is buying up more like smaller indie stuff. Like,
yeah, the Epic acquisitions are not a good thing, but they don't strike me as like dangerous for the industry in the same way necessarily. Because like it just means that
they are doing
like,
some blockheaded stuff, but
of course,
but,
I mean, the way they've handled their legals and business stuff has been done. But I don't know that I think I don't know that I think the Rocket League being exclusive to the Epic Store is the nail in the coffin for the industry that somebody else having a monopoly would be.
You know, like I wouldn't say that, like, when Bethesda had, you know, Tango and id and Arcane and stuff before they were bought by Microsoft. And like, you know, that's like, okay, that's like a nice grouping of studios. That's like, okay, like ZeniMax, that whole like family of studios, that's cool. 2K, that like grouping of studios, like, you know, that's fine, like groupings of studios. But it's when a bigger thing, you know, bigger fish comes along and eats that whole thing, and then suddenly it just becomes like this whole other different monolith in a way that it's like, I don't know about this.
I'm sure that multiple of us have experienced this in the past, but I have seen it firsthand too, where it's like, okay, we have new ownership coming in. They're very hands off. They're going to let you operate independently. And it appears that that's what's happening to the rest of the world. And then actually it's like, can you just, investors would like this small change. It's just little. But if you could just do this,
we don't want to interrupt you, but
they don't want to get.
We want this.
And then it's also like, okay, well, that's an extra 10 hours of work this week. Cool. Yeah. And you, that kind of stuff.
It's true. Yeah.
You would hope that that's not happening at these places, but I do worry. Like Bethesda sounds like a fucking awesome place to work. And I believe right now that it still is, but you just hope that down the road, it's not like, well, you know, Elder Scrolls 6 came out, didn't really do the numbers. We got to cut 100 people.
We had 110% attach rate for the Xbox Series X, but still we only sold 500 copies. So I don't know.
It's all speculative, of course, and I don't want to like accuse them of something they haven't even done yet. This isn't Minority Report, but
maybe nothing happens with Discord. But
it's easy to accuse. You can accuse Activision over and over again of doing something.
Oh, there's a lot of evidence there.
It's more just like distrust of the like consolidation of talent, and you know, in fewer and fewer places.
And to put a bow on it, I think the biggest thing is less having I'm gonna like, you should go on like a Twitter rant about how bad it is, but maybe also the like, oh sweet, they're buying Discord, who's Microsoft gonna buy next kind of tweets are like, you kind of lost the plot on this.
Yeah.
Like fantasy, like you always talk about it, Andre, like fantasy booking these purchases is not a valuable use of your
gross.
time.
Yeah.
You should if anything be scrutinized and critical of these things.
It's the worst part of fanboy culture now, for sure.
Yeah,
Like,
it's also, to Alex's point, it's also not worth it to be like, Discord's getting bought, it's over, close your server, fuck Microsoft, fuck Discord, it's over. Like, that's a little much too.
Discord is over, party.
Yeah,
back to Ventrilo.
Oh, I wish. Put some,
Yeah, with some Dota.
listen to the Dota song.
God, that trailer was so good.
Play
not
some
even trailer, but
I'm gonna watch that anime because of
I
that
so
commercial.
I wasn't interested in that
gonna watch
anime.
it.
I mean, but that commercial, in its audacity, and also the fact that I didn't know that Invoker was part of the lore, and that trailer showed that Invoker is a big part. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting.
Partner and I were I showed her the commercial and she was like, so we're gonna watch this show now, right?
And from what I've heard, it's
I
actually
guess I gotta
it's pretty
watch this
decent.
Dota trailer.
It's, if you know the original song, you'll like it.
If you know the cover,
they put
they put the Dota song in the commercial.
Oh my
with
God.
Bass Hunter or whatever his name is.
Bass
Like,
Hunter is in it.
he's
they recreate parts of the
they
video.
recreate yeah.
Oh my
but it's
God.
like
Wait, what?
yeah, like it's him in
Oh, yeah.
2021. Yeah,
Oh my God.
launching Dota
That's
2
why I
and
was
stuff.
listening to the Dota song the other day and I put it in the
It's really
podcast
good.
chat.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
super funny.
I would say that I feel bad for spoiling it, but it's clear literally the second you click on the video that that's what's happening. So
Oh yeah. It's not subtle. It's just
Wow,
whoever
okay.
came up with that idea at Netflix, like, bravo.
Mhm. That's okay. They should get at the next international. They should have Bass Hunter perform live.
Oh, that's been talked about
I-
for so many years.
I'm sure that it will
They
happen at
should
some
do
point.
it. They should do it before he's far too old.
He's not, based on this. Seriously,
Oh no, I
he
mean,
looks like
well,
he could perform.
He's
Oh, yeah, totally.
Swedish, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that means
he never
that means
ages.
he's immortal.
He's just a beautiful Swedish man. Next up, we're talking about the big three this week. We got
Yeah.
Sony, we got Microsoft, now we got Nintendo.
I'm listening to the Dota song now, so I'm only half paying attention.
Nintendo is partnering with Niantic, creators of Ingress and Pokemon Go, again, this time to make a game, an AR game, similar to Pokemon Go,
Probably for phones?
based around. What if it's not? What if it's for the Switch Pro?
What's it based on, Andre?
Pikmin, the Smash Brothers character.
Mr. Pikmin himself.
Yeah,
Captain
Old-
Alima Pikmin.
Mhm. There's not really a whole lot of information about this other than they are making the game.
I don't see. Again, I'm going to be repeating myself from Bread Radio, but the reason, or I would say the primary reason Pokemon Go got wildly successful is because Pokemon is a name that
Pokemon.
everyone recognizes.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
like,
Everybody
you
knows
don't-
what a Pikachu is.
Exactly. Like, no one, someone who's never picked up a Game Boy, never watched an anime, you show them Pikachu, they'll be like, "Ah, Pika Pika, I get it. Ah, yeah, let's try this thing," because like everyone is doing it, and it's But Pikmin does not have that market penetration with random people. Like,
No.
I like Pikmin, and I like the idea of games that get people out and doing things, like walking and being active. But I feel like Pikmin is maybe a strange
It's a
property to pick
weird
for
choice.
this.
I don't think there's any more room for these games. Sorry, Allison.
Oh, yeah, no. It's a strange choice, but yeah, no, I agree with that, where I feel like you have one game that you like with those and you don't need two.
It seems like Ingress appealed to weirdos who like yeah, I'm kind of kidding, I don't mean to, but also there was some,
But also
I don't know how deeply any of you all looked into the
Oh,
Ingress
yeah.
community.
I
was a part of it for the first year of that game.
strange.
It's like there were
People-
times when it was bordering harassment, and
Oh, it was like-
okay.
It would be like you would expect to someone walking at you with like a tire iron because you.
Well, like I saw people saying like we need to scout locations, and when you dig deeper, what they mean by scout locations is spy on people in their homes to see if they're leaving the house to go take nodes and stuff, which is like
it got
Like
bonkers.
maybe
that's
hey,
illegal.
right,
Stalking people via ingress, not good.
advice: maybe don't.
Yeah. But I think it's a cool game if the community were not kind of weird. And I don't want to paint the whole community with that brush. Of course, there's tons of people who play it for fun and are not weirdos.
but it was there.
And Pokemon Go, I know tons of people have known tons of people who don't play video games at all. And they just think Pokemon is cool because they like the art. And so they play Go because it's like, yeah, and get super into it. Like I know a few people who don't play the Pokemon games, even if they play other games, but they go to like community days, obviously pre-COVID, and like will go to parks all day to play with people and stuff. So those are cool games that have big communities. I don't think there's room. I mean, the Harry Potter game kind of fell flat.
Yeah.
That Minecraft game fell flat.
Oh,
like
that one even worse. Yeah.
So I don't know that there's space for another one of these, especially like to your point where it's not a brand everybody knows.
Everybody loves Smash Brothers. Everybody loves to play the Pikmin.
If they did a Smash Brothers one, then I feel like that one would be solid. But
it would have a tiny community that would be even creepier than the Ingress community.
It'd be a public health emergency.
Yes.
Unshowered masses roaming the streets.
Exactly. I think the only way you could get one of these games to even work for a little bit is if you tied a brand like Marvel or Star Wars to it, something that has like enormous consumer appeal. I don't think Pikmin's going to do it.
Yeah,
but
you
hope it's cool.
Pikmin's cool. Guys, don't do a Star Wars one because they'd be like, do you want to be the light side or the dark side?
No, I don't. I'm not saying I want them to do this. I'm just saying.
Fascist. Let's go.
Do you want to be the space fascist?
Well, I mean, if it was a Marvel game, it would be tied to Shield, which is just also like.
Do you want to be Hydra or do you want to be? They could do like a Captain America.
Hydra versus Shield is like, which kind of fascist do you want to be?
Do you want to be? You could do like X-Men or the Avengers or the Fantastic Four team.
You could, but they wouldn't.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. Which sucks that only big brands seem like they can float in that space, because I imagine like smaller ones like with smaller properties could do cool stuff. It's just like this is just a weird pick.
And I think there'd be room for developing another original kind of game like this that had interesting mechanics. Like I don't think it has to be a branded game for this like social, I don't even know what you call it, kind of game. But I don't think you're going to be able to sell it to people based on a brand, I guess, unless it's something huge. And even then, I don't know that you're going to be able to build a lasting community anyway.
Hear me out. Scooby-Doo AR game.
That'd be cool.
Be
cool.
You go around. You got to like solve the mystery. You gotta
pull the mask off somebody and be it's
so old man
the arcade
Jenkins.
owner.
When I was a kid, we had this. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say we already know what the paid currency would be in a Scooby-Doo game.
Scooby snacks.
Exactly.
Marijuana.
Yeah, Scooby snacks, Pat.
Non-fungible Scooby snacks.
Non-fungible vape cartridges.
That's the premium
Scooby
currency.
snacks.
Yeah. You get that's the currencies. Scooby snacks and then Scooby snacks with quotes around.
In quotes.
That's the premium currency.
Yeah. When I was a kid, we had a game where you had to like hide a bunch of clues and stuff around the house. It was like a murder mystery party thing, but it came in like a box and had instructions for setting it up. They should figure out a way to do something like that with phones. Someone should make a game like that with phones. This is kind of a different topic because it wouldn't really be like Ingress or Pokemon Go, but
I mean, yeah, like they used to do like murder mystery in a box stuff.
You could still find
it, but you set that up on a phone.
Yeah, I'm saying like make a murder mystery game on a phone. I bet that would be really good. And then people have phones at all. Anyway.
Alex, make a cassette of this podcast and then
exactly
mail it to yourself so we can have copyright on this idea.
No problem.
You can buy different adventure or different mysteries, so it's a fresh game. And
just go ahead and like pull that tape out right now and just get
the
right
game.
on it.
The game
So
like
it's
assigns you a
live, so-
role and reads you your like here's your things and your information. Yeah,
Great.
maybe it already exists. Probably already exists. I'm gonna look this up.
Other Nintendo news today, March 27th, is the 3DS's 10th birthday.
Jesus Christ.
10 years of the 3DS.
10
And
years
Nintendo
of
will be shutting down the no, just kidding.
10 years
Actually,
of
we are
that.
just days away from the execution of Mario.
I heard.
You're right. We are the 31st. Yeah.
Oh, I might have to play another round of Mario 35. I kind of like that game.
Mario 30 is
It's a dumb game, but I like it.
It's dumb, such a dumb name. Anyway,
It is.
well, what is y'all's fondest memory of the 3DS?
I think the fact that it worked, like the fact that it's like the only 3D
It's an operable
non-
piece of technology.
No, like I like the fact that like it's the only non-glasses 3D screen I've ever kind of experienced, and the fact that it worked.
It works, yeah. I just have really fun memories of going to 2 J-pop shows in New York. And before each of those shows, Smash for 3DS came out, and then Pokemon Sun and Moon came out. So like, because for those shows, I had to hang out in line for like most of the day. Like that was like a, hey, I'm going to be sitting outside on the pavement, sitting in line for like 8 to 12 hours. So just playing 3DS and talking with people, and like Street Pass, I never used that much, but it was always like kind of exciting when you went someplace to have a good
Sure.
Street Pass.
Yeah.
I don't
Going
know.
to, like, a PAX
It's a
or
good
whatever.
system. Yeah, going to like a convention and you're like, oh, everybody here has a 3DS and we're all just sitting around playing 3DS together, and it was nice. So
Mhm.
2 things. One, there is a game on the App Store called Whodunit, a murder mystery game for 7 to 21 players. It does exactly all the things I just outlined.
That's a lot of players.
That is a
I mean, it
lot.
would have to be. It's a party. It has multiple mysteries, et cetera, et
I
cetera. It
don't
also
have 21 friends.
only has.
I have like
If only I only had 21 friends, my life would be so much simpler. It has only 3.7 stars though, so I don't know. Maybe
Wait, well, how many?
Invest
How
with
many
care.
reviews?
let me see here.
'Cause 3.7 is like a
71,
billion.
how many
71
of those
ratings.
reviews
So
are people
okay.
going, I don't have friends.
low
So
number.
that's like, that's just over 3 full games worth of people. So like,
Looks like somebody is complaining that you don't get PDFs. Oh, you have to pay an extra
What?
$3 for a PDF of the game. Because it's like
What?
it's basically a tabletop game, right? Because it's like, okay, Alex,
Sure.
you're the butler. Here's your role. Here's the clues, and the whole
Mhm.
point of these games is you walk around and talk to people and go like, and try to get
Okay,
information
sure.
out of them.
it's, Velvet
So-
Sundown.
How do you get pets?
It is Velvet Sundown. Actually, it's
Wow.
totally Velvet Sundown in real life. That's
Yeah.
what Velvet Sundown is based on. Is this
Yeah.
kind of party game?
Wow.
Usually
I
they
did
are
this for my
typically
friend's
sold as
birthday
PDFs.
once.
They're really fun. It's incredibly fun.
You know what? Relative or related to what you're watching, Pat, my character when I did it for my friend's birthday was a race car driver.
Very cool. Anyway, second, my fondest memory of the 3DS, which this is very funny. I haven't really played a ton of 3DS games. I just had a launch one forever. And then my fondest memory was driving 2 hours to a Walmart to get a new 3DS XL when those came out, because I was like, well, this is probably going to be the last version of this console and I have a launch one. I should upgrade now if I'm ever going to do it. And the only store that had it in stock was this Walmart that was 2 hours away. And it was a really fun experience being like, maybe this time I'll buy a bunch of 3DS games and play a ton of 3DS. There's so much promise there. And so I drove there full of hope, and it was fun to go and buy this new console and then take it home and play around with it. And then I didn't end up playing that many games on it because I'm just not that much of a handheld gamer. Great system.
Oh,
Yeah.
that just reminded
3DS
me
is
of
good.
also the time that I got stuck in an elevator for like 90 minutes and then I had my 3DS.
There you go.
Hey, you know what?
I was like, hey, I was a new 3DS, so I played a lot of Super Mario World, and I was like,
Yeah.
this made me feel
There-
better, even though I was stuck alone in an elevator, wanting to get out of the elevator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were some really interesting games on 3DS. Like Tomodachi Life was weird. Miitopia was weird. Like the Pushmo and Crashmo stuff was cool. Like they did. There was just good games on the 3DS.
Monster
a lot of good
Hunter
games, yeah.
4.
Link Between Worlds was really good.
Oh, that game's.
I think Link
that
Between
game
Worlds is my
slaps.
favorite, probably my favorite 3DS game. I think.
definitely up
it's
there.
good.
The
It's Monster
Persona-
Hunter 4 Ultimate for me, but
Persona Q was
Persona
really
4 is
good. Fire Emblem
Uh,
Awakening was really good.
Replaying Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time was a good time on the 3DS.
A lot of Shin Megami Tensei games on there in general. I a while ago I bought a bunch of on sale a bunch of Shin Megami Tensei games and Etrian Odyssey games, and I need to play them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, those are good.
Etrian
Those are cool.
Odyssey is like rips, and it's like it feels like a series that really does benefit from the DS and 3DS with the drawing a map yourself on the second screen. So like there
Yeah.
are certain games that use the second screen really well. And like Professor Layton. I love Professor
Oh,
Layton.
Professor
too.
Layton's so
Oh,
good.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
game rips.
Mario and Luigi, Dream Team.
Oh yeah.
Was it Dream Team? Yeah, that was a really good one too. So yeah, 3DS was a really solid
Game is
console.
really good, and I still occasionally play it because there's just so many good games on there.
Yeah, it's
It's
great.
no GBA, but
I mean, what is? What
nothing.
is?
Yeah.
Nothing.
No, nothing.
Next up on our news story, we got Call of Duty rumors, leaks. I missed this
Somewhere,
one completely.
somewhere between them. Yeah.
The next Call of Duty is reportedly an alt history 1950s if World War II never happened, called Call of Duty
This
Vanguard.
Sounds awesome. IMO.
It does kind of sound interesting. When
I'm
the
super
leaks
into it.
when the leaks first started coming out, the headlines and stuff were basically like, "Oh, they're making another World War II game." So it was basically people saying like, "Oh, it's Call of Duty World War II 2."
Which I also would have been fine with. But
I would have been fine with 2. It was good for what it was, even
What
though
if
it was
it's
pretty
a
simple.
future game and it's actually Call of Duty World War 22?
so
Man, that would be good too, because that's like that Battlefield game.
yeah.
Damn. Get mechs in there.
I think
They
like
say, Respawn's not doing Titanfall 3. Well, we're gonna do
I've
mechs.
seen a lot of people saying like no more World War II shooters, stop it, it's such a bloated genre. And it's like versus what?
That's an
Another
interesting idea.
Well,
and versus
15
like another modern shooter?
Yeah.
I don't want to play another one of those.
And like
Yeah,
World War
15 years
shooters
ago,
were really,
sure.
yeah, they were really big in like the early 2000 split.
There you
Yeah.
go.
I don't know.
the 2000s.
The
2000s.
I was gonna say the 2000s.
Would I prefer that Sledgehammer made a first person game that's like a pensive exploration of the human mind through like exploring an undersea base? Sure.
Isn't
They're
that
not going
Black
to do
Ops?
that. If you're going to make a Call of Duty game, it's either going to be modern day World War II or like near future sci-fi. And out of those three, I think I'm more interested in World War II. I think I'm pretty sick of the other two concepts.
So like alt history, if World War II never happened, is a cool idea. No,
Oh yeah.
It is
nifty,
interesting. Like
and
it's almost kind of Wolfenstein in that way. Like obviously Wolfenstein's different. It's like a different conclusion to World War II, but
yeah,
like
Yeah.
that alt history stuff can be fascinating. So
And it
yeah.
means that you'll see the way that that what it gives them the opportunity to do. The weird thing about Call of Duty World War II, which
Then
didn't
all
bother
the
me.
war crimes for the U.S.
Well,
to commit.
the U.S. certainly committed war crimes during World War II, also. But the thing that people complained about with Call of Duty World War II, aside from it having some, I mean, it wasn't perfect, but they still did the whole like level your guns up and put attachments on them, which is a little weird when you're talking about like an M1 Garand, which didn't happen. They didn't put like 6 scopes and weed leaves on them.
what?
In World War II.
That sounds like
didn't-
bullshit.
They didn't have the technology yet. They had to wait for Vietnam to be able to do that.
But if they make it like alternate history, then they can just say as part of the story, as the war drug on, soldiers customized their weapons, like personalized their weapons to operate in exactly the way they needed them to, and done. Then you can have like an M1 with 4 scopes on it and a attachment that makes it fire like burst fire or something, and it's fine. And so I think it could be super cool.
Fat clouds.
Yeah, we can only dream.
Sub-ohm your M1 Garand.
But yeah, I don't know. I think it sounds cool. I'm pretty lukewarm on Black Ops this year at this point. Like I finished the first battle pass. It's fun, but it's not as good as Modern Warfare by any stretch in terms of the multiplayer. So I'm already excited for the next Call of Duty. Whereas when Black Ops was kind of sneaking into the public perception, I was like, no, another year of Modern Warfare. And now I'm like, please give me the next one, because I'm already kind of bored of this one.
Do we have is there like a setting or like a plot kind of like hint for what this new one is?
Not that I saw.
remember. I feel like I saw people saying Korean War like months ago. Like,
well, if
like
it's
early, but yeah, 50s would be that kind of time frame.
Yeah.
But because that's like kind of the one era they haven't visited.
I don't
really
think we need to get into.
Yeah, no, I don't.
That war personally
need to.
I would much prefer alternate history World War II.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
But yeah, I think if you do 50s where World War II never ended, you can also have like jet fighters and stuff.
Never happened is what this says.
Oh,
So
Not never ended.
yeah, never happened.
oh.
So there was no World War II.
I was in that case, I'm significantly less interested. I thought what we were saying is World War II occurred and continued into the 50s.
No.
No.
I'm
Never
not.
happened.
I like World War II weapons, so if it's actually just going to be
those
like
weapons would still exist, right?
Probably.
yeah,
presumably.
but I also like I
Maybe
think
not
that the
as
conflict is in
iconic.
it. I don't know. We'll see.
The
see.
M1
So-
Garand is not as iconic as Aiden Pierce's hat in that case. but-
Okay, so
We'll see.
hear me out. Call of Duty Primal.
This is like the first war.
Yeah,
Like Far Cry
exactly.
Primal?
Like Far Cry Primal.
Homo
but
sapien
Call of
versus
Duty.
Neanderthal.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, why not?
with weed
I will
leaves
tell you,
and M1
Chivalry 2
Grands.
comes out June 8th, 2021. Not quite that far back, but if you want to beat people up with swords,
Call of Duty,
which I do
Primal.
every day of my life.
All right. Well, next up, our favorite, just bundle of joy, Ikumi Nakamura, is starting a new studio. She's going to make games. She's done some of your favorite stuff. If you don't know, like being the character or designer of Bayonetta, and creative director on some Tango Gameworks games like Evil Within 2.
I think
She was.
but
it's
Tokyo Ghostwire.
it's really fun to me
Ghostwire
that
Tokyo,
she's
yeah.
like seems like such a like positive, pleasant person, and Evil Within 2 is like one of the more gnarly games from an art direction and creative standpoint. It's cool.
totally.
It's I'm not poking fun. I think it's awesome.
She's an
I'm very
interesting
excited
human.
to see.
Yeah. And in case y'all didn't know, she was also the art director on Okami, which
Right. Yeah.
is maybe one of the best art games from the PS2 era. So
Yeah.
It's pretty. It's definitely a big swing from Okami to Evil Within 2. So clearly, like
yeah.
her aesthetic range is really wide.
She's got a range.
and
Yeah.
so it's very exciting to see her kind of helming a studio and having more creative input. And she also seems like she's really dedicated to working with good people. Like she doesn't seem. Kojima is like, okay, Kojima. I like his games, but it's also like this is a Hideo Kojima game. Whereas I feel like Ikumi Nakamura is less likely to like make her game Ikumi Nakamura's whatever,
Sure.
you know.
She seems more humble,
Yes,
I would say.
and
She
she's
seems
already
both
done.
humble and very enthusiastic. Like I think one of the things that drew people to her from the E3 was just her like level of enthusiasm, and I think having that level in game development is always good, because that kind of you can kind of feel it when devs really care about the game that they're making, and that's what I really get from her. So I'm excited to see
Yeah,
what happens with the studio.
Also, relevant to Alex's interests, in this interview, she's like talking about exploring spooky places, spooky buildings.
There you go.
That's I would love to see her saying that because she would say it's spooky.
Oh, yeah. This is I don't know. It's in the she left Tango 2 years ago now. Apparently for her health,
Probably.
and then she like had a baby,
Mhm.
and now,
God, her series of pictures from having a baby are so
Mhm.
funny.
yeah.
If y'all haven't seen them, they're hilarious.
I saw them. I can't remember them, but yeah. So yeah, we can look forward to whatever she's making. No idea when that stuff's going to come out, but that's exciting. Her to have some cool that she has the cachet now to like open up her own studio, and then she has like a killer resume and experience and stuff. So, I'm there. I'm here for it. Next up, speaking of Japanese studios that we love and adore, Yakuza producer Daisuke Sato wants to remaster Binary Domain.
Fuck yeah.
Hell yeah.
Big Bo.
Get
in
Big Bo back.
4K, 120 FPS.
I have not played this game, but I've always wanted to.
It's bad, but
Justice
it's
for
also
Big Bo.
excellent. Like it's
Release the bow cut.
God.
it's such a dumb game and it's so audacious. It's great. I love Binary Domain.
Yeah.
It had like voice control support, but not in like you control your character. It's like it would pick up your mic and you could like say specific things to your characters, and like they would respond to them, or like they would ask you questions and you would say stuff and they'd react to it. Like and
what a wild time for games.
it was so good. And a lot of times it would have you say stuff like, "Oh, motherfucker," and like Bo's like, "Yeah, give me your loudest motherfucker." And it's just like, it was so weird. It was just so good.
They could really do that with the PS4 now, or the PS5 with the power of the PS5 controller.
With the controller, yeah.
Okay,
It's so good. They should remake it.
Is he the creative director now, was that someone else? Okay,
I'm pretty
So
sure
he's
he's
the
creative
creative-
director, like just for fucking
at
Sega.
Sega, yeah.
Yeah.
Seems like if you're the creative director at Sega and you want to remaster a game, there's not that much standing in your way to actually doing it.
Yeah.
You're right.
Let's see. Just double check.
Because it's the Yakuza team who made Binary Domain.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Wait, okay. What would like to make a Sonic? Oh, he also wants to make a Sonic game.
man,
Yeah, he's.
I mean, Sonic Adventure is already like halfway to being Shenmue, right?
I've not played Sonic Adventure. I could not tell you. But
Oh, there's a lot of walking around and talking to people in that game.
no,
It
interesting.
sucks. but-
Weird.
Oh yeah. There's Sonic levels where you're running around and like the whale and all that stuff, but then there's also significant portions of that game where you're walking around the city and like talking to people.
What if we had gotten the exact same Sonic movie we got like last year or whenever it was that it came out last year, right?
2 years
last
ago,
year.
I think.
Was it?
It was last
2
year.
years ago.
No,
People
because
went to the
I
theater
was
to see it, so it would have had to have been like January or February last year.
Yeah, it was like early
It was a
last year.
Valentine's Day. It was Valentine's Day last year.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, that makes sense then.
So if we got that movie, but in like the heyday of licensed games, like the PS2 era, with like full voice cast, Jim Carrey, or sound alikes, Jim Carrey, Ben Schwartz. No, not Ben Schwartz. That's not his name, is it?
Yeah.
Yep.
And Ben
Okay.
Schwartz.
It's Ben Schwartz.
I was thinking of Jason Schwartzman. That's what I was getting confused.
Yeah. Not
Very different.
Different tonally.
Very different people.
I was
Yeah.
like, yeah. But yeah, just if we got that game, that movie in the heyday of licensed games, we would have had that licensed game, James Marsden.
Would have sucked, probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
We could have had it. Could have been
Damn.
a glorious, could have
Damn,
been
if
a
only.
glorious part of gaming.
If only they would have finally made a shitty Sonic game. That would have been something.
that would have been real wild.
The series that never misses.
If they made a Sonic game like in the style of Yakuza, oh man.
You should play Sonic Adventure.
No, they need the beat 'em up stuff though. And then
I mean,
yeah, Sonic grabs like a bike and just slams it into the side of
you should
whatever.
play Sonic
rips
Adventure.
off his fur, and then there's a big dragon tattoo. There's a tattoo of Knuckles on his back.
And Big the cat.
Just saying. I think Sonic Adventure is closer to what you want than you think.
Am I just pitching Sonic Adventure here? Is that it? I just no idea.
I'm not saying it's like Yakuza, but there's definitely motorcycles in it. And
I think the last time I played a Sonic game was on a Motorola Razr. No, that seems impossible, but I feel like. No, it must. Where did? No, it must have been a smartphone.
I don't like Sonic.
It was probably just like a Sonic game on like my first like Android like HTC Thunderbolt or whatever in like 2007, 2000. I don't even know. Sometime around then. No, it would have been 2009, 2010. I don't know. God, weird. Anyway, last story of the week. Apex Legends developer Respawn banning players that are using predatory ways to climb the ladder. What does this mean? Please enlighten me.
Apparently there was this scheme that was happening where like players would get downed or like knocked down and then would somehow, I don't know the method, but would basically DDoS the server and would cause everyone to disconnect except for their squad so that they could revive each other. And like just kill all the other people that were now disconnected and down. And like they would use this to just win game after game after game. And then like, get to like the top of the ladder by like just abusing this kind of like whatever this DDoS technique was.
That's some lag switched kind of shit.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like it's almost like impressive. But yeah.
I mean, it's you know, nice engineering and enjoy your ban. like what people do stupid shit for all sorts of reasons. And if that short-lived opportunity to make people frustrated, it was worth it. Okay, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know what they get other than like pretending they have a bigger internet wiener or whatever reason people have for climbing ladders like that. But
yeah,
a lot of people have more fun cheating at games than they do playing them.
Getting good at them. Yeah.
I
don't know.
I saw Valve made smurfing in Dota like a bannable offense. I guess.
Yeah. Wow. That's cool.
Yeah, that is also pretty good. That's been plaguing Dota
wild.
Forever.
Yeah, that's just a thing in League too. It's just a thing. Yeah. People everyone that I know who plays League has at least 2 Smurf accounts.
And in some cases I can see a reason why you would want one. Like if you're playing with your friend who just started,
that's like generally why they do it. Yeah.
Like you want to queue with them, but you don't want to pull them up to like, like 6K MMR kind of games. Like, yeah, like totally. Like I see a case for why a Smurf makes sense, but people who do it just to beat up on, kids basically, like it sucks.
Yeah, it's a bad scene. I think that's it for this week. Unless anyone has any other stories they want to share.
Pat is just lifting.
My cat is losing his mind right now. I think he wants food or something.
Suddenly, there's a cat just being carried
he's
across the frame.
He keeps trying to climb into the microphone assembly, and I have to grab him and move him to my lap.
Wait, maybe an update on this Call of Duty thing.
Breaking news.
So it's understood that Sledgehammer's game will see a return to the Modern Warfare 2019 engine.
Nice.
IW8, which also powers Warzone after last year's switch. But Modern Warfare, Warzone, and Black Ops Cold War share underlying. Okay, yeah. we're Call of Duty World War II Vanguard will likely share weapons and progression with Warzone like Black Ops, but it's unclear how deep the integration with this game's. Okay.
That's not unexpected.
This is
It's called World War II Vanguard.
I guess.
Then World War II has to have happened.
Yeah.
But maybe it's like some like Steins Gate shit, and
Well,
they're
let's be
switching
clear,
world lines.
I wish World War II had not happened in real life, and that all of the atrocities and horrors around World War II had not occurred. I don't want to come off as some kind of like World War II fan. I just think games set there are interesting.
Don't stand World War II, please.
No, I do not stand any wars. I do stand killing Nazis, but
here's
I wish they just had never existed.
Yeah, that's gonna do it for this episode then. I guess it's called World War II Vanguard. That's gonna do it for episode 165 of the Gaming Fix podcast on March 27th, 2021. You can find the podcast on all your favorite streaming platforms, which you're listening to the podcast. You can go to fix.space, where I'm going to have a review of How to Win. And I took pictures of Demon Souls. I just need to post that fucking review. I'll do it. I swear I'll do it. I've been threatening it for weeks now. You can send us an email to gaming@fix.space with all your thoughts on Call of Duty World War II. What war do you stand? What game would you make into an AR experience? What game should Daisuke Sato at?
All right. Let me pitch you.
Yeah.
It's a Formula One Go. You buy a mount and you put it on your car dashboard, and then you play Formula One Go while you drive around.
That seems dangerous.
It would be extremely dangerous. That's what makes it fun.
What would you do with the PlayStation Store stuff? What would you do with all those abandoned games? With anything. You got any good recipes from like your favorite games? I don't know. I don't know. You can find us on Twitter @FixPodcasts and on Twitch @GamingFix, right? Twitch.tv/GamingFix. We nailed it in one.
With so much confidence.
Oh, yes, the most confidence. You could find me and all my confidence on Twitter @CoolSlaw, COOLSL4W. That's Andre, your partner's favorite Joker. Alex, where can people find you?
New episode of Coding Fix went up this week, so there, I guess.
What are you talking about this week?
That week, this one was all about primitive data types and data structures.
Woo.
Exciting.
Woo.
Pat, where can people find you?
You can find me at PJC Plays. I had a funny thing I was going to say, and then I didn't. I lost it.
Sick.
So, I know the feeling. And Allison.
You can find me on Twitter @WRITERSERENYTY.
That's going to do it for this week. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully we've got a special guest next week. Fingers crossed. And so make sure to tune in. Bye-bye, everybody.
Stay wet.
Stay wet, gamers.
All the way till then.
Reminding me. Yeah, do not dry off. No dry gamers in this house.
I pushed stop on my recording already.
Okay, bye.
But
I didn't.
Also, this is not being recorded, so just keep that in mind. But last night in my games, somebody in my group started reciting the lyrics to that song but in the style of Ben Shapiro. So he kept saying like wet ass P word as we would charge the enemy over the in-game voice chat, which everyone could hear. It was very funny. It was very funny.
Wow. Okay. Well, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
All right. Only the stream remains alive now. And only